Thank you. Hi, good morning. Selamat pagi. Yeah. Okay. So we can speak in English, because I'm still not good in Bahasa. So, right. So, okay. So I'm a professor at the Nanyang Business School, Nanyang Technological University. So my area of work is actually in the area of tech disruption and digital transformation. A lot of buzzword, big word, right? So later on, I will talk more about all this buzzword, right? But before I do a bit more introduction about myself, I want to know, like, roughly, who are you guys? I want to know roughly what kind of aspiration you have, right? Can I just do a quick check? It's like, how many of you are not from Indonesia, not from local, right? All right, so quite few of you. So I would say that you're from Vietnam. You're from? Huh? Japan. All right. Cambodia. Good. Where? Denmark. Okay, wonderful. So do you guys have a chance to get to know them already? The local. I'm talking about the local. Right? So the rest of you are from Gajah Mada, right? Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, good. Okay, I just want to understand a little bit so that I don't just talk all the way about things that I am excited about. I just want to know what you are interested about. So when you hear this word called tech disruption and digital transformation, what comes to your mind? What do you want to know more about this topic? Right? Would you be able to tell me that? Okay, think, 1 minute. Just let you think a little bit. If you look at this topic on tech disruption, a lot of people talk about tech disruption, talk about Uber, talk about GoJack, talk about company like N Financial. What do you want to know about it? Okay, so what do you want to know about the topic? Yes. Financial technology. Interesting. Why would you want to know more about financial technology?
Because it helps to remove the intermediary. Because it helps to move the intermediaries between the lender and then the one who
and the borrower,
borrow the money.
Okay. Why you like to disintermediate? You don't like the banks?
Because it will help us to cut the costs, so that we can borrow with lower interest rate.
Yes. So we have one gentleman here who is very good in the sense that he wants to do more things. He wants to help to lower the cost of borrowing, because if you go to the banks, the bank will charge you a high interest rate. With fintech, chances of you getting a lower rate is better. All right. So I hear something about fintech. So someone want to know more about fintech. Okay, good. Anything else? Anything else? Yes. Digital economy. Okay, so what have you learned about digital economy so far? Like,
how the world is now changing because of the digital transformations, and it affects the activities of the economy itself, whether it can be happen in the company or maybe it can be happen in a locally, globally, and everything changed because of this digital economy. And it has a bad impact and also has a good impact. So I want to know more about how digital economy affects our world nowadays.
yeah, that's a big topic.
Yeah.
Okay, so the issue about digital economy. Okay, economy, as you know, is a big word. Okay, you learn microeconomics, macroeconomics. All right, you learn how people do business in a particular economy. You know how people do trading. You know people how to do selling. The entire thing, the logistic flow, the supply chain is being affected by digital technology, right? So you believe that There's a lot of disruption probably happening here. Okay, good. So we'll know more, but I'm not sure whether I can deliver. Huh? Okay, what else? Yes.
Actually, since the title says disruption, I would like to know more about the cyber attacks that could possibly happen in the financial industry, perhaps. That's it.
Okay, cyber attack. Why are you particularly interested in cyber attack? Why do you think that's a problem?
I mean, because we are now more connected than ever. There are more threats coming from the internet and so on. I think it'll be interesting to find out just what are the vulnerabilities that we can face from the cyber world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the aspiration to become a cyber auditor or IT security practitioner?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Maybe.
So, yeah. So as we sort of discuss all this topic, I think one thing I want you to bear in mind is that as you guys are students, you guys are going to be graduating soon. All right. So one of the things that you want to look at for yourself is like, how can I position myself if this digital disruption starts to happen? Where do I put myself? What kind of job is suitable for me? What kind of job I should shun away from? So I want you to think through that process, to just look at yourself. If I graduate in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, where should I go? Should I go into the cyber attack area? All right. Should I go into fintech? Should I go into something bigger in terms of making policy? You join the government. Government has a lot of policy implication for the digital economy, right? So think about that. Okay, good. What else?
So when I think about technology disruption, I think about automation, unemployment, and inequality.
Unemployment and
inequality.
Inequalities. So coming back from this, unemployment and inequalities. All right. Elaborate a bit. What do you mean by unemployment? Why is there unemployment issues?
So because of these technological advancements not benefit everyone, only the top 1% or something that's going to be benefited, and those low-skilled jobs will potentially be lost in the future due to automation and other kind of technology.
Do you believe that? His argument is that technology will benefit 1% of the people, and then the rest of the people will not be included. So there will be greater and greater income disparity.
I mean, everyone will be benefited, but not equally.
Not equally.
Yeah, so the one that have this technology is the one that will benefit the most. Of course, everyone will benefit in a way, but not everyone will benefit it the same.
Yeah. So Mark Zuckerberg will benefit more.
Yeah,
compared
exactly.
to. Yeah. Yeah. So that is also something that is interesting to explore. In fact, I have people who hold the other view. I have people, in fact, I did, have you heard of this company called Mapan? Mapan Rumah in Indonesia. Rumah is Jakarta. BTPN, you heard, huh? Yeah, BTPN. Yeah, Mapan you haven't heard before. They do a lot of arisan and whatever, right? So there are people who believe the other way around. They would think that the whole world has been benefiting people like Mark Zuckerberg, people like the tech leader all these years. So they are beginning to have a group of people who are what I would call social entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurs, that means that they want to use technology in a way that will benefit the masses. All right, will benefit people from the agricultural sector. They will benefit people from the poor section. So Mapan is one of those companies. If you haven't heard of it, you go and search this company called Mapan. It is a company that is helping the poor to be financially independent. All right, to have some. So potentially there's an issue about unemployment. All right, and a lot of people also worry about unemployment because of AI, right? Because of AI, so AI is going to take away my job, right? AI is going to make the whole job disappear. And to some extent, that is quite true. That's quite true. I was in China. I visited this company. It's an outsourcing company. It's a call center outsourcing. Right? Call center outsourcing, you know what's call center, right? Right. So I visited them. They said previously they were hiring 100 to 300 of people just managing the phone, doing call center answering for their customer. All right. But now they say they only have 50 people. The rest of them are answered using chatbot. Right? Chatbot are those robots that do answering. You know, you will ask them question, right? But you at the back of it, you don't know whether you're answered by a machine or you're answered by a human, a real human, right? So those kind of things are there. So I understand your concern, right? Okay, so obviously it's linked to inequality. Okay, but again, I'm not sure whether that's the purpose of this session, right? Because this topic is also very big. In fact, a lot of government is worried about this topic. All right, if you want to be a policy maker, want to go into the government, this is one area you should pick up. Okay? Yeah. I saw a hand somewhere here just now. Yeah. Yes.
So my name is Diaz, and actually you have mentioned about AI. I was so interested in. I'm so interested in artificial intelligence because I read an article about that Indonesia is leading in Asian region in terms of adopting AI. So yeah, followed by Thailand and Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, thank you.
What else did they say about the AI article? Did they mention specifically in which area of AI they are leading, Indonesian leading? 24.6%. Okay. All right. So she saw an article about AI, and Indonesia was one of the leading users of AI. All right. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, because AI is a kind of technology that require a lot of data, a lot of use cases. All right. But Indonesia, simply by the sheer size of its population, you know, the sheer size of numbers of users, it is a good place to use AI. All right, you see, in one of the worst, of course, US, they have their AI technology. The worst, most advanced AI players is actually in China. All right, and China, they are sophisticated in using technology, but their technology sophistication is not as good as the US. All right, but one big strength that China has is the strength of their huge database. Right? Because you want to train a machine, you want to train an artificial intelligence, you must have a set of data to train. So you must tell them that, oh, if something happened, whether this is the right answer or not. All right? So then the machine must learn. And then how do the machine learn? Learn from a huge repository of data. So in China, you have a lot. So sometimes people ask me whether in 5 years' time, will US still lead in AI? I'm a little bit worried for US. Because in US, a lot of AI application is not being used so widely. Whereas in China, almost everything they use AI. Like the outsourcing company I go to, even answering customer phone call, everything use AI. All right, so they have a lot of cases. So I think it's an exciting area to go into as well. Just a quick question is, how exposed are you to technology courses right now in your course? Okay, how many IT subjects do you take? Do you take, so somebody give me the answers?
My name is Gaharu. We have this, what is it called in English? Introduction to Information Technology. It's, well, basically the lecturer talks a lot more about something, what happened around us or in the world currently. So he's not really textbook, which we are very grateful for. But then when we were in the exam, it was all about the textbook, so it was very confusing. But then it was very interesting to know about the issue. One time we talked about the Mark Zuckerberg issue and all that, so it really gives us a lot of insight about what's happening in the technological world.
Great, yeah. So I guess there are two parts of this kind of courses when in your undergraduate years. There are two. One part of the undergraduate IT courses tend to focus on awareness. All right, that means I will get you excited about the technology. I will get you excited about what is going to happen. Okay, then the second set of courses will train you to be a little bit more technically competent. All right, so this is where you have to decide for yourself which area that you want to go into. All right, at the very basic, you should have some kind of basic programming appreciation, coding. All right, have you all done any coding before? Yeah. If not, just go and look at some simple coding. All right, simple coding. A lot of the skill set today can be picked up on the internet. All right, internet. There are a lot of YouTube video. There are a lot of learning that you can do on your own. Okay, so I would advise that you guys go and pick up some of this coding skill. Not so much to code yourself. All right, but to understand how coding works such that you can understand the limitation of all these technologies. All these technology are not ideal. You can talk about fintech, but at the end of the day, it's still a set of programs. All right, so if you understand the limitation of coding, you roughly understand that the technology really cannot go too far. Because that's the danger. That's the danger with digital disruption. A lot of time, we get too frightened by the word digital disruption. Then we think that digital disruption can solve all your problems, which is the other danger. Because one is that you don't care about digital disruption, so as a result, you didn't prepare yourself. The other part is that you care too much about digital disruption, that they become the solution to everything. So if I have a poverty problem, use technology to solve it. If I have a high fee, somebody charge me high fee in the banks, I use technology to solve it. Life is not going to be that simple, right? So there will still be a lot of issues surrounding technology that need to be resolved, right? So again, my advice for you as you move along is to look at courses that will give you awareness, all right, especially for those people who do not have the intention to go into tech field. You still want to become your accountant, you still want to become your econs policy, macro planner. You can still, but you should be aware of what's happening. Then there's another group of people who say, yeah, I want to become a tech entrepreneur. I want to be like a Nadim. I want to be like some startup entrepreneurs. For you, if you have that kind of ambition, you should be a little bit more technically grounded, right? You should learn what is analytics. You should learn a bit of programming. You should learn a bit of issue that's happening in whatever technology in whichever field. All right. So a lot of things can be happening. Okay. Okay. So anything else? Any other reaction about? Yes.
My name is Baskoro Fabian. Based on your statement earlier, you state that coding is important to be learned to some extent. And do you
GoJack? I said GoJack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you find that learning how to code is important for us, mostly people from the business department? And if so, does the importance depends on our job itself?
So importance of GoJack?
No, importance of coding, sir.
Importance of
coding?
Coding.
Yeah.
Okay. Important of coding for your job. Yeah. So what job would you like to do next time?
Well, I'm interested in managing some sort of data.
You are data person.
Yeah.
You're data management person. You're a software person.
Not yet, but I aspire to be that kind of person.
Then definitely it's very relevant to you. Okay, I mean, for your job, it's quite clear. I mean, in terms of coding, why is coding important to you, right? So, because a lot of the heavy data management that you will eventually do has some level of coding. So, if you start to deal with data, when we talk about learning data at the university level, most of the time, we learn something like Microsoft Access, right? Do you use Microsoft Access? Or something like that. All right, so that's very micro. That's very narrow. When we start to move ourselves to the internet era, out there, we are starting to deal with big data. Okay, big data is very messy. Big data, you require you to handle data coming from SAP system, coming from Oracle system, coming from private proprietary trade settlement system. So even before you can do anything, you need to write a program to convert each of them into specific standard format. You need to bring all the data together, consolidate them. All right. Then you can go and do a program, coding, to code them into some kind of specific model that best fit this data. All right. So this is the part where you can say that this data with these 3 other fields and this data with this another 3 other fields, how do I compute a correlation between the two? So whenever this data goes up, this data also goes up. Or this data goes up, this data goes down. All right, that's what they call model building in so-called in trying to become smarter with your data. All right, so you use all this data coming from various sources. All right, and then you are trying to predict some outcome. And this outcome is going to be used to so-called help you to make certain decisions. So for example, like a lot of the algorithmic trading in the financial market. In the financial market, they use a lot of this kind of trading algorithm. So if you look at trading in the financial market have you all done trading on your own? Do you go to the stock market and buy share yourself? Right? So some of you nod your head. You should, if you can, if you ask your dad for, $1,000, whatever, you just try to do. So the principle behind trading, if you look at it, is very simple. Is you want to buy low, you sell high. That's all. So if you look at it in terms of a programming statement, it's not difficult to code. So all you need to do is monitor this share, buy low, sell high. So whenever you drop certain, then you define what is low to you, and you define what is high to you. Then that becomes a programming statement. So what I'm saying is that a lot of the decisions we make today, we think this trader is very clever, we think this doctor is very clever, we think this lawyer is very clever. But whatever decision they make can be converted into some kind of programming statement. All right, so that is why this disruption is happening. Because for too long, when the bank want to give you a loan, then they will ask you, you go and fill up this application form. And then you send an application form, you give the form with all the supporting documents, and then give to this branch. And then the branch will send it to the head office, and then head office will go through review. And then they will review by one manager, and then review by another senior manager, and then finally it's approved, and then it will come down the chain again. Okay, send back the document to the manager, and then manager will send down back to the branch, and then the branch eventually will inform you to the... So eventually the whole thing took 1 month, 60 days, right? So there is a lot of inefficiency in today's system. So if you look at it, why does things has to be that way? Why do you have to do this? And as you have read, I presume you have read, in the Ant Financial case, a lot of credit loan decisions nowadays are done using technology. Right? They don't need to go through all this long statement, and then they will just base it on some algorithmic calculation based on your so-called credit score. Okay? So Ant Financial has this one thing called what? 310 experience. You take 3 minutes to apply, 1 second to approve. Right? And 0 human involved. So they call it the 310 experience. Basically, it is just giving you loan based on your past record. So you can trace your payment record. You see how often you pay a bill. You see how often you have whatever transaction on Alibaba, what kind of thing you buy. So after a while, they can sort of, based on the behavioral characteristic, they will just write a formula. If this is okay, grant him the decision. All right. So a lot of what we have in our past in terms of decision that human make can now be converted into some kind of programming statement. All right. So that's why it's good to have a bit of coding knowledge so that you can roughly have a sense of how computer works. All right? Okay, but of course coding is just one way to make decision. All right? There are also coding is still a human way to learn, to make decision. But the scary thing now is that you have a lot of time when we move into machine learning, it's no longer that human learn, it's machine that learns. So machine look at tons of data, again they will decide what kind of model best fit the data, and then they will decide from there. Right, so there's a lot of issue there about all this. Okay, so I make you depressed enough or happy enough? Yeah, no, but I think this is a good time for you guys, because especially when you guys are young, you guys are not so bothered by legacy. You know, a lot of time people like us, when it comes to my age, but people who are above 30, 40 years old, it is harder for them to change. Why? Because they have been used to the past. We are used to the bank. Whereas you guys are not used to the bank. How many of you go to the bank? How many of you visited the bank? Physical visit to the bank. Do you do physical visit to the bank? Okay, still have. Very seldom, I guess. Yeah, but for me as a young boy who must go there and queue, and then, you know, we use bank a lot. But for young people today, they don't even go to the bank. Okay, so their relationship with banks are not strong anymore. All right? Whether the bank exists or don't exist, they don't care. They don't care. All right? I want to do bank, why can't I just do it using things like Alipay, using social media, Facebook, WhatsApp? Wouldn't it be nice if you can pay people through WhatsApp? You know, so why do you need to go and download a bank-specific app and then pay money, must transfer the money from your account to your bank payment app, and then you must look for another friend, when you pay another friend, then you must look for your friend's bank app, and then they'll pay. Right? So it creates a lot of pain for the customer. Right? So you are at the age where you can start to question all these pains. Right? Why do you have to suffer? Why do I need to go to the bank? Right? If I can avoid the bank, can I just do it virtually on my mobile phone? Why do I need to go there? Right? So you can start to ask a lot more questions, and because you are young, you can afford to ask the question. Because you are old like me, you ask the question, people will say, hey, you're stupid, you haven't... You know, people will question us, right? Because we are supposed to know a bit more. But when you are young, you just act innocent, right? So you just learn to question a lot of things. Okay? So this technology thing sort of give you the rights, give you the ability to question things a bit more. All right? So that's what I would like to encourage this kind of development among you. Okay? Okay, so we have all these issues. Okay, anything else you guys want to clarify? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Lade. I was thinking about the responsibility that the companies have because they have all of this data, personal data.
Yes.
And the technology is really growing rapid. So do they also keep up, and are they responsible for keeping all this data? Thank you.
So you're talking about the responsibility of the big firm, right? You're talking about that the responsibility of all this giant, I will call it tech giant. Okay. So now that we have so much data online, all right, who is responsible for it? All right. This is a big topic. You've seen the recent news about Facebook, right? So you see a big topic here. This is an area where the regulation is currently evolving to push for a lot of reform here. All right. So it is a difficult area. So again, if you are interested, if you are a lawyer, all right, or if you are someone who's interested in data privacy, data security, this is also an area where you should focus your attention on. Because my personal view is that all this, what I will call platform organization, all this company like Alibaba, like GoJack. GoJack is one of this kind of company, like WeChat, Facebook. this kind of company need to be regulated. All right. So the recognition is already there. So people are beginning to realize, you know, if you do not control Facebook, you can see what is happening in US election. People can influence your opinion. Because a lot of us, we are being influenced even without us knowing. All right? Because we are being pushed certain type of material every day. It's like when you go to Facebook, once you like something, the next thing you get is something that is related to your like. Yeah. So after a while, you just think the whole world is like what you think. Yeah. So that's the danger, because the danger is that you no longer accept diverse opinion. You think the whole world is thinking like you, but actually it's not. Right? So it can be a very subtle way of influencing your mind, which can be very dangerous. And who has the power to manipulate your mind? These are the company. Okay? So very dangerous. All right? The issue now is like who should regulate it and how to regulate it. All right. So one thing that you notice in Facebook's recent initiative is that Facebook actually allow you to dig out your own information, right? So they have created a new feature to let you know how much of your data is being collected by them. All right. But is that good enough? All right. So lots of quarrel over here. All right. So if you want to know more, you should become an academic like me. Then you can go and study it. Because right now, there's no clear answer yet. All right, it's a lot of quarrel, a lot of people fighting over it. And then the question is it your own responsibility to protect your information, or is it the platform's responsibility, or is it the government's responsibility? So still not very clear. Yeah, but I think good that you bring it up, because again, it sort of channel your thoughts on what to focus on. Okay. Okay, so looking at this, I can only talk more about this. Digital economy, I will talk about it as I go along. All right, as I talk more about the development in fintech, right? Then some of this issue will come up. Okay, some of this issue will come up. Okay. Anything else you want to? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nisa, and when I hear about the digital transformation, the digital transformation. I'm interested in learning more about the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, and especially about the threats and opportunities that they impose.
The opportunity, the challenges that they impose. Okay. Okay. So I guess you guys have heard of blockchain and the various types of cryptocurrency. All right, it is an area that is very controversial. Okay, I'm just curious, any of you invested in Bitcoin? Huh? You did? So have you made money or lost money? Huh? Lost money. You did gain, you must let go of it earlier lah. Right, because at one stage it was crazy. It's like so high up and okay, yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. It is, again, something that's emerging. There's no clear answer to it. But the general answer people will give you is that I'll just give you a general answer, is that the cryptocurrency part will take quite some time before it can come up. All right, but the thing is the blockchain technology behind it is actually very widely used now. It's already being used in a lot of banks and trading settlement. So some of the underlying technology of it is actually good, but the concept of currency, if you attach a currency onto the blockchain technology, it is very risky. Okay, part of it is because we are still not used to a world without government. Because part of the issue about blockchain is that cryptocurrency is that I want to create a currency that is outside the control of government. All right, so that part of it is very difficult to break. Okay, nobody wants to let go of the concept that there is a type of currency where no government in the world can control. So I think that part is more a regulatory or legal issues. It's not so much that the technology is not ready. So that part you need to break. Okay? Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Okay, my name is Farah, Deza Farfadila, from Economics Faculty. I want to know more about the e-money because I heard in Singapore it's really big. It's what mostly people use, and nowadays in Indonesia there are some companies that start to use the same thing, the same way. So I would like to know how does the government regulate with that, because in Indonesia there are more than one company using this technology.
Okay, when you mention e-money, what do you mean? Are you referring to cryptocurrency?
No, it's more like you keep your money in like
digital, yeah.
Yeah.
Wallet.
So sometimes if you use the phone, you can use it for like the NFC or something.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
So it's like a card, but it's attached to your phone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's exciting. In fact, I think that's what the case is about. So we will talk more in the case, all right, to essentially highlight the point. That's what she said. This is not cryptocurrency. This is not a cryptocurrency. This is just digital payment, digital money, in the sense that e-money, you put the money in a wallet. All right. Will this kind of concept caught up with the world? I personally think so. All right. Okay. Let's go to the case, and then let's see whether we can understand more along the way. So I will ask you a few more questions, but before that, I just would like to go through some of the background information first. So as I've said, there are a lot of things happening today, right? So you see a whole list of technology all over the place. So you can see a lot of technology happening, right? So you have robotic, you have cloud computing, Internet of Things, blockchain. And the technology is not just happening within the information technologies. So you are seeing a lot of things in the automobile, for example, the autonomous cars, and then even in bio, in space, DNA sequencing. So we are living at the age where a lot of people are experimenting. All right. So it is this nature of it that will change a lot of things. All right. So you use some of this technology, you can see. It's okay, tech disruption. So I guess you name me some of the tech disruption that you have heard. So you know Uber, right? In here, I guess it's largely GoJack. Yeah, who else? Yeah, Grab. How is GoJack changing the way things are being done in the past? Wow, it's a big shake, right? Why? Come give me.
I personally use the GoJack, app every single day. Like when I don't bring cars, I always use GoJack. When I'm hungry, I use GoFood. And then when you need to, when your house needs to be clean, you use GoClean. So it is very, very important for all of us right now. Which is it's great. I mean, it makes our life easier for sure.
I guess you're going to do GoPay. You already go GoPay, all right? Right, so GoPay is the initial version of this. All right, so next time you have GoPay, Go Deposit, Go Loan, Go... Yeah, it's a matter of time. It's just that I think, I actually spoke to them before. It's actually, they want to go there, but the regulator don't allow. Yeah, regulator don't allow. All right, so there's as you can see, there's a lot of disruption. Disruption in what sense? All right, disruption in the sense that the value creation is no longer the same. If you look at value chain, I presume you guys do value chain, right? Value chain, there are two parts to value chain. One part of value chain is value creation. You have this part about creating value, how to create value to a person. Then the other part of the value chain is the value distribution. You create the value already, then I want to distribute the value differently. So right to this point, the value creation is done by the banks or whatever. You know, the value distribution is distributed such that all the rich people get richer. You know, is that kind? Okay, so the question now is, with this disruption, the value chain is going to be disturbed. And when the value chain is disturbed, nobody is going to be happy. So who do you think will be unhappy? Who do you think will be unhappy? Right. So like GoJack, in GoJack's case, who do you think is unhappy? The traditional OJack, right? Yeah, I know the traditional OJack at one stage was demonstrating, right? And in fact, when I talked to them, they actually even shoot a bullet to Nadim's office, right? It was a real case. I thought, really? Yeah, so dangerous. Somebody shoot a bullet into the office. So it's actually that kind of unhappiness. You are disrupting, you are taking away my rice bowl. All right, so that's why it is disruption, because it's no longer status quo. Right, it's no longer status quo. Why? Because the money I used to get is no longer coming. It's coming from somewhere else. All right, so you see that in Uber. You should see that in who else? Grab. Besides that, Spotify. Do you use Spotify? Yeah. So now who listen to music by going to the CD? Yeah. No more. Netflix. Do you have Netflix here? Yeah. So Netflix, Spotify. So a lot of things are happening. All right. So the banks are now being disrupted. So what we are saying is that it is not just within one industry. Some people say that, oh, it's just about Netflix. It's just about media type of content. It is no longer so. It is also a lot of offline content. We used to think that, oh, go massage. Massage people, how do you disrupt a massage industry? Because massage industry, you need to be there to massage the person, right? So how do you disrupt the industry? But that's what Go Massage do. Right? They bring the person all the way to your house. Actually very interesting. I think it's in Singapore, I don't think it will succeed. Because I think Singapore houses are so small, not like this side. Singapore houses, then you bring these people to the house, and then people are very fearful that some stranger come to your house. Right? So there's a lot of mindset change. There's a lot of changes in terms of the habits, the way you use a certain behavior. All right. So we are talking about all this kind of disruption that is happening. Okay, so all over the place. Okay, so personally, I've been doing work on all these companies. I've been doing bank. I do work from both the disruptor perspective and also the incumbent perspective. So I study incumbent organizations such as DBS Bank in Singapore, very aggressive, very panicky, all right, but they are doing a lot. DBS Bank just won the world best digital bank, 2017 or something. So these are the company that I deal with. GoJack, I talk to them, and Financial, Uber, Ping An. Ping An is also an interesting company. Ping An is an insurance company who have actually go into healthcare tech, go into auto tech, and then go into real estate technologies. So they have partner ecosystem with real estate company that whenever you buy a real estate company, your property insurance is done by them. When you buy a car, the car insurance is done by them. Right, so you see this constant thing about moving forward to be closer to the customer. Okay, so let's talk about this case. So this case is specific in the financial industry, but it doesn't have to be in the financial industry. So if you're not interested in the financial industry, it's still okay. You can just draw some lesson learned from here. All right, because the same kind of phenomena will happen in the medical tech industry. It will happen in the real estate tech domain as well. Okay, and financial, I guess, who I heard they are Chinese student here. Are you from China? No. Where are you guys from? Huh? Thailand. Okay, Thailand is also very exciting. Thailand, a lot of, I think generally in ASEAN is I think digital tech, this is the time to come to ASEAN. Because ASEAN is at the right point now. Okay, ASEAN is at the right point now. Particularly interesting is Indonesia. Okay, Indonesia is very exciting in in all kind of digital disruption. So the problem is that the industry is very exciting. There are a lot of potential application, but there's not enough local talent. All right, so you guys quickly go and brush up, and then and then join the industry. All right, and then try to go and join some of the people, company like GoJack, company like go. And essentially, I think even in Singapore today, a lot of my students, I see a shift. I don't know whether it's true here. I see a shift that people no longer want to join the big banks. People want to join tech startup. Okay, I don't know whether it is true here. All right, it's changing. Because at one stage when we have all our first class, the top students, they will all be interviewing in all the Citibank, UBS, this kind of company, right? But increasingly, we are seeing a lot of people willing to join Ant Financial in Singapore. They have come to Ant Financial Singapore. Google, they want to join company that is a lot more tech-oriented. All right. Again, my advice to you is that if you do not hate IT, that's qualification. Of course, there are some people who look at IT, they just, oh, no way, I'm going to do it as a part of my career. All right. But if you do not hate IT, I think it's good to be affiliated with this company. It will help you in terms of your CV. So imagine if you go out to work, you can tell people, I did my internship in GoJack. That is a plus point. Okay? If you tell people, I work in DBS Bank. Okay, DBS Bank still not so bad because they are doing a lot of aggressive transformation themselves. But you tell them they are from one of traditional bank, then it is no longer that valuable to them, right? So Ant Financial is one of such company in China. Okay, I purposely choose China to discuss tech disruption because China's tech disruption is way ahead of all of us. Okay, this is the chart that shows how far back we are. So generally, if you can see, China, all right? If you look at just in terms of the financial industry alone, all right, we talk about mobile payment. In fact, now the percentage is higher. If you look at payment alone, all right, I think now it's probably 60% that payment is done through mobile wallet. All right, I was recently in Hangzhou. Everything must use Alipay or WeChat Pay. All right, and the worst thing is that they don't have their credit card there is terrible. So I have credit card with me, but I didn't bring enough cash. So as a result, I don't have Alipay. So as a result, I have to borrow money from my colleagues. Because everywhere you go, even like the stall, small shop, you have to use Alipay. So, you know, this Singapore is not so great, right? Singapore is just 4%. It's no big deal, right? Whereas Indonesia, I think is going up. Indonesia because of Grab, because of GoJack. GoPay is tremendously, because I think now probably Indonesia is probably equally like Singapore, or at least maybe higher. All right. Whereas Singapore, the general willingness to adopt this kind of payment technology is very low. Why? All right. Okay, so that's the one question I want you to bear in mind. Why is it difficult for e-payment to pick up in developed countries versus emerging countries? Any idea why? You'll be increasingly so. In fact, I will expect US to be even slower. Singapore, slow. Whereas company like Indonesia, Thailand will be fast. Why?
Hello, my name is Alan. I'm from accounting department. I think in developed country, the citizen which is over 30 is more than Indonesia and Thailand, which is emerging country, which the population of under 30 is much higher. And just like you said, older people tend to be less likely to change and adapt to technology. And if there's a lot of young population, the tendency to adapt to technology is much higher. Therefore, Indonesia, which has a lot of young population, is likely to adapt to technology.
Yep. Excellent. I mean, that's one of the reason which I haven't thought of. So I think it's a real reason. I think it's in the sense that there is a lot of truth in this. Like Indonesia's population is very young. All right. You go to Singapore, our young population is shrinking. You know, we have to close a few secondary schools because there are not enough young people to go to school. So Singapore is the young population is squeezing, whereas Indonesia, all the young people are thriving. Okay, and these young people are going to be the one that power the engine of growth. Huh? So you will see that whatever skill you put out there, it's going to last you for a few years, and you're going to be quite useful in that sense. So one reason is that, yeah, probably because there's a lot of young people, and then the willingness of young people to adopt e-payment is a lot higher than old men like us. Okay, we will be wondering, are you sure or not? Are you sure the money is really going into the account? You sure or not? I need a printed statement to show proof. You know, it's like, you try it on your mom and see, your parents and see. All right, but I guess the other reason is also the fact that they are a problem of their past success. Singapore, US country has been very successful in the past, right? Especially in terms of financial sophistication. But the financial sophistication is giving you a legacy because you are so convenient already. So in Singapore, we don't pay, even like for $20, $15, I use credit card. I use credit card to pay. They still accept credit card. So most of us are used to the credit card culture. We use credit card, we got rebates. We got everything, we got a lot of other benefit. So it is very difficult for a digital payment company to fight with the credit card companies. So most of the people will not want to pay using Alipay. No benefit. Whereas credit card, I can hold you over a credit period of 1 month. I can earn something between. So a lot of these mature countries, they will be slower in terms of e-payment adoption. Okay? And they are going to, in a way, I wouldn't say it's because they already are good at that. But there will be consequences. All right, there will be consequences because in some way our data that I have is collected by the credit card company. Whereas now your data is collected by Alipay, this kind of company, GoPay, this kind of company. And collecting data, you know why? If let's say GoPay want to go IPO, you think they're going to be value, how much do you think they are going to be valued at? A lot, right? Yeah, I think Ali and Financial Services is trying to go IPO. Right, the estimation is 75 billion US dollars. 75 billion US dollar for this company, which is bigger than a lot of other banks. Today's bank, you'll be bigger than Citibank, you'll be bigger than a lot of company. Crazy. So as accounting student, business student, how do you do your financial analysis? Why do you think this kind of company worth so much? Why? Like company like Facebook also crazy, right? At one stage, only recently because it says something, then the price dropped. But you look at a lot of the technology company, why is their valuation so high? Reasonable?
Everyone is very attached to technology because it's part of our daily life. So it will give us long-term benefits. So that's why the value is very high.
So you believe that it is very high because it's part of your life. Anybody? Any other view? Why this company is worth that much?
Maybe because we live in the technology world already, and then in the future it will be more and more advanced, and so the technology company, they will still exist, or even they will grow and then go along with the era, and then so yeah, they will worth more.
Okay. So you believe the sci-fi show is going to come true, huh? You know, a lot of time when you read all this book, you know, everything is done by technology. Do you believe it's coming? Do you believe it's coming? Every part of your life has some kind of technology in it. I experienced a bit of it when I was in China recently. Who's in China? Who's from China here? I thought Ponteng today, never come. I thought one of you is from China, no? Yes. Yes. So how is it like? I think China, you should share some of your perspective in terms of the technology you see happening in China.
Because the Alipay we use every day, like go out, pay the taxi, pay all the bill for buy the snack, and pay the electric bill.
Train.
So everything.
Everything.
Maybe the highway also can pay right now.
The highway too, right? The electronic road pricing. How about the rest of you? Yeah, but I was very impressed. I mean, as an outsider, I was in Hangzhou. And Hangzhou is what they want to do. I think it's one of the cities that they are trying to implement smart city. Smart city. So if you go to China, everything, a lot of things has become facial recognition. So what you do is you go to the immigration, you have to put first 4 fingers, then another 4 fingers, then after that 2 thumbs. So they capture 10 of your fingers. They capture 10 of your fingers, then after that they will have a screen, and then they will capture your facial expression. Wow. Okay? So the purpose of capturing all this information is that they actually have a database of you. Alright? And then in Hangzhou, if you're on the highway, on the road, right, there's this bright light that shines. So initially I thought the bright light was actually meant for the car detection, because I think they have to control car traffic congestion. Alright, so on certain day, only odd number car plate can go in. On other days, even number plate can go into the car. So at first I thought it was meant to capture the numbers only. But it seems that they have incorporated the facial recognition technology. Alright. So as a criminal, you cannot run. So you on the highway, you are driving somewhere, the light will shine, and then you can be caught. That's what I heard from because I went to visit Alipay at Hangzhou. So Alibaba is there at Hangzhou. So they are using a lot of new tech to experiment it in Hangzhou city. All right. So whether you like it or not, things are coming. So I used to think that such thing will never come, you know, but it is becoming more and more real that you will see technology being applied every aspect in your life. All right. So in Chinese they have a word called 刷脸. 刷脸 is like scan your face. All right, so scan your face. So you no longer do PIN password. You just want to do payment, just show your face. Yeah. So it is facial recognition. So their facial recognition technology is very strong in China. So, and to us, to people like us, especially as accountants, as auditors, this is great because this is a wonderful way of authentication. All right, they can authenticate, they can differentiate between twins. The technology is such that if you ask a person at the immigration to use his human judgment to differentiate a twin, sometimes it doesn't work. Whereas facial recognition technology, it works. So you notice technology sometimes is a lot more accurate than human. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so my point is that China is a lot more advanced. All right, that's why we are looking at China as an example. Okay, so just a bit of a selling for Alipay and Financial. So now they are the world's largest fintech company with 520 million active users. When you go to China, it's a bit like Indonesia. It's like everything is in million. You know, in Singapore, when we say we have a number of registered users, 200,000, you know, then we are very happy, right? You know, you're talking about 520 million. I can't even imagine the number. All right, so it's that many people using it. It is going to overtake Visa this year. Right, so in terms of payment company, they are like really picking off. And Yuepao is their world's largest money market fund. So the Yuepao is an interesting phenomena. So what happens is you put your money in your wallet, all right? But most of the time the wallet doesn't earn you interest, all right? So this one they allow to give you interest. So they put the money in the Yuepao. So to me it's a very attractive product. You know, if a lot of people just tell people in Indonesia, Singapore, if they can do this, a lot of people will put their money inside, right? But the thing is, typically this kind of money is only, this kind of facility or this kind of product is only given to private banking customer. They don't give this kind of thing to average customer. So you see that this is one technology that helped to elevate this inequality, because one of you mentioned this issue of inequality. So you can use technology to balance things up a bit. You know, a lot of SME company, they don't have track record. And they also cannot go to the bank and borrow money, because when you want to borrow money from the bank will tell you, do you have collateral? Do you have credit history? But to these people, they don't have. They don't have anything. But how can you give loan to somebody who do not have collateral? All right, so you use their past record, which is what this company has innovated on. They use data instead of collateral to judge your credit worthiness. All right, so interesting concept. Okay, so the growth trajectory. So what they do is they created a credit scoring system, okay, which is quite innovative. All right. Unlike traditional banks, you go to the current bank today have their own credit scoring system. And how do the bank compute your credit score? They want to see how worthy are you as a customer? How likely are you going to put money in me? All right, so they will of course ask you what profession are you in, how old are you, and then what is your income level, etc. What is your resident? Where do you stay? So they are quite terrible. They will check, where do you stay? Are you staying in a condo or are you staying in a house? So this is the traditional way bank assess you. All right. The clever thing that Alipay, this kind of company, do is that they look at it using a different angle. They start to assess credit score using other information. So they look at behavior and preferences. So it look at your clicking pattern. If you go to Taobao, Alibaba and buy things, firstly they analyze what kind of product you buy. All right, analyze what kind of product you buy, and then analyze which kind of website do you go to. So based on your interest, your preference, they will categorize you as a certain type of customer. All right. Then they will look at your credit history in terms of payment, in terms of fulfillment, even friends, even friends. If you socialize with people, if you are, you know, like Facebook, if you are a friend with somebody, so if you have a lot of friends who come from very poor credit score, they will also take that into account. Yeah, so that's what happened to me. Because when I went to Alipay in Hangzhou, as a foreigner, I cannot open a bank account. I cannot open a bank account, so I cheated. So I create my Alipay account. You cannot create, you can create an Alipay account, but you cannot link it to your bank account, right? Because I don't have a bank account in China. So the way I go about it is that I ask my friend in China to transfer money to me into my Alipay account. All right, so into my Alipay account, but my account is an unverified account. My account is an unverified account. But unverified in the sense that I do not have a proper China bank account. All right, so my friend transferred the money to me, then I use the money to do all my payment. All right, okay, but because of that, my friend's credit score suffer. All right, because he has a lot of this kind of friend who ask him to transfer money. Yeah. So again, the system has a way to handle risk management. So you be careful who you friend with. So especially online, your reputation is depending on a lot of your online track record. All right. So increasingly so. So even in today's world, even if you go to employment agency, a lot of them go and analyze your LinkedIn account. How many of you have your LinkedIn account? Have you set up your LinkedIn account already? Okay? So LinkedIn, when you link properly, don't simply link. All right, so LinkedIn account will be assessed. Yeah.
Sir, isn't it a government scale social engineering? Because the way I see it, you see behavior, you see who you're friends with. I mean, it's kind of scary because it seems like the government tells you who can you friend with, or what behavior is good behavior, so you can get a good credit. So, how do you think this can be applied in the world? Because you know, concerning about privacy and other stuff, I think this is really scary.
Okay, firstly, it is not a government. This is a private enterprise, right? So it is something that Facebook has been doing all the time. Alipay has been doing all the time. So it is what is happening in today's world. So a lot of people are tracking you based on your website that you go to. So like if you have certain website that you like to go to, but you don't want people to know, you think nobody knows, your father don't know, your mother don't know, but social media know. So based on that, they will collect all this information, they will push you product. But so far, it is still okay, because so far what they do is that they will push you recommendation. They will say, oh, given your interest profile, I will sell certain product to you. Okay, but now it's crossing the line. You think it's crossing the line, right? So now it is that they not only sell you product, they also make decision whether to give you loan or not. All right, so it is becoming that kind of space that you're talking about.
My name is Nabila. I want to ask about the credit scoring system. It may be a bit out of context, but there was this series called Black Mirror. I'm sure some of you know about Black Mirror, and there was this episode where people were ranked based on their stars and credibility, and it didn't turn out well. Now, I would like to ask, would this credit scoring system affect how we value each other in terms of like our relationships, on their worth, on being able to take a loan and something and stuff like that?
All right, good. That's a good question, because this is where you start to step over. All right, as I said, that it is no longer a decision. This one got to do with ethical issue already, because it's like, who do I want to make friends with? Why does it matter whether his creditworthiness is not good? You know, I value a friend for friend's sake. Why is it that I want to, you know, be careful of who do you do it? All right. So this is some of the questions that I know academic are studying, but I think beyond academic, I think they have real social implication. All right. So you should ask some of these questions. You should point out. The problem is that a lot of people are not even aware. All right. A lot of people are not aware. So this thing about championing consumer rights, championing individual rights, championing your own data rights, a lot of people are not even aware. All right? And that's something to be, I think in the next 2 or 3 years, you will see this kind of debate coming out. People challenging Facebook, people challenging Grab, even GoPay. Why are they collecting my information? Why are they sharing GoPay information with my GoLive information, with my GoJack information? Because there are a lot of detail. I want to go for massage, but I don't want people to know. I don't want my payee, my banks to know that I have a lot of this kind of services that I do. All right, who gives them the right to decide what data to give? Right. So these are exactly the issue that you have to deal with. But again, the technology is coming to resolve some of those issues. The technology, a lot of time, this kind of company will tell you they anonymize your data. Right? They anonymize your data. They share data, they link your information, but there's no way that somebody can know that it's you. Right? But again, that's what they claim lah. And they also claim like blockchain is totally cannot be hacked. You know, they also claim that a lot of things is very secure. But after that, somebody go and hack data from somewhere, you know, and yet you cannot do anything about it. In Singapore, we just have a recent case of our medical data is stolen. So 1.5 million citizens in Singapore, their medical record is being hacked. It has been hacked. Okay, so at the end of the day, then you challenge them. You say, how come you never protect my data properly? nobody is going to hold somebody accountable for that. Because I think right now the regulation, all these things are still not formalized enough. Okay, so a lot of issues. I would say a lot of issues. Yeah, yeah. So good to be aware of such thing. That's why some of the really techie people, they basically cut themselves out of internet. There are some people who are like that, right? So they just say, if you know enough about the technology today, you better get out of it. Yeah, so all kind of view. But the thing is, when you get out of it, you don't have the convenience. It's like Facebook, you want to get out, very difficult. It's like our life has been so entangled with technology, like what she mentioned. It's very difficult for us to get out. Right? So the way we want to regulate, we want to create policy for this kind of company, it will become more and more challenging. But it's worth. Somebody need to challenge. Right? Somebody need to challenge. Yeah.
Relating to the sorry, my name is Giska from Accounting Department. Relating to the financial technology topics, I want to ask. So you also cooperate and working with BTPN Bank, and I want to ask about. Do you know Genius, sir?
Do you know the news?
Genius card.
Genius, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I use it, but I don't really know how does it work, because Genius card work with free fee if you transfer to different bank, and also we can use the card for the credit as a credit card, and also it can use for a PayPal. I mean, like, how does it work? Does the bank pay for us for the charge or something like that?
Oh, okay. So you're saying that you don't have to pay for using the transaction inside, all right? Okay, I guess. Okay, I guess to respond to it, I think one is that I suspect the bank will pay for you, right? If you want to compete with startup. In fact, the BTPN guy will always complain to me in the sense that, hey, everybody, you know, when startup did something, everybody get excited over it. But when the bank did the same thing, people just said, oh, it's expected of the bank. So he complained about the fact that incumbent bank of like BTPN is not being seen as innovative. Whereas when bank did the same thing, when startup did the same thing, they are, you know, all kind of increase in terms of their share prices or whatever, right? But the second thing to talk about is that, you know, a lot of these free things, the free fees is like your GoJack, it's like your GoLive. They are supported by investors' money, right? You look at, that's why they say that, what's the burn rate? You know, investor, venture capitalists put money into GoJack, GoLive. So every time GoLive give you an offer, you take this, you go to my first massage service, they will give you $10 discount or something. So this money are actually investors' money. So investors' money, so as a result, like company like Uber, after a while they can burn their cash for a few years. After a while, they got no much money left to burn. So the question is, if you have no more money to burn, you better exit. So in Singapore, Uber exited. Cannot fight anymore. All right, so Grab, continue. So there's a lot of this kind of money. I always tell my son, my children, if you have GoJack, if you have Uber, Grab, quickly go and use this, because you are using the investors' money. Because these are investors' money, because they will put in all kind of subsidy. Just use it, all right? Because otherwise they will collapse soon. You know? Yeah. Okay. So coming back to BTPN, it's going to be a lot more challenging for an incumbent bank to do that, because incumbent bank like BTPN, they have their shareholder to account for. So at the end of the day, they must tell the shareholder, I spend this much money promoting this kind of product. So I want to do a payment product, but I'll be charged by the other bank. Because the problem with today's bank is that the interbank payment settlement is very inefficient. All right? Bank, interbank, everybody charge each other one. So they do have charges on each other. So I suspect in this case, it's probably they agree with the other bank that mutually we don't charge each other, or they actually bear the cost. So I suspect that's why incumbent is very difficult for incumbent to fight. Because incumbent has to fight with current system, within current system, whereas disruptor has no such legacy. Disruptor doesn't have to agree. Because my payment base is so big, if you are a bank, you want to come on board, you better don't charge me. You know, so there's a lot of this kind of issue happening. Yeah.
Good morning, sir. My name is Navia. So I'm actually interested more into fintech, especially on the peer-to-peer marketplace. So in Indonesia itself, the government is actually trying to increase the financial inclusion. And one of the means is actually fintech, in which right now there are many startups focusing more on the peer-to-peer, especially on the microfinance lending. Since like Indonesia itself is an archipelago area, do you think that these startups, which is actually a disruptor of the economy for I believe that the incumbent banks also do this, do you really think that they should cooperate with the banks to actually reach out towards like the smallest area, or they should just simply go by themselves and then putting up strategy how to put awareness on like the local people on the remote areas? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, good question. So the issue is, how do I use fintech to reach out to the financially excluded? Okay, which is again using technology to balance up the inequality equation, and which is an application area that is of tremendous potential for a country like Indonesia, right? In fact, the work that I'm doing with Mapan, the company that's called Mapan, that's what they are trying to do. They are basically full of a whole bunch of very young people like you guys. I think Adi, you know Adi? Adi, he's the founder. Young people, I think it's like your age maybe. No, older, maybe 30. 30? Are you all 30 yet? Not yet. Okay, so his ambition, his aspiration is to bring all this, to make financial facility accessible to people at the outer zone. All right? But the question is, how do you do that? Because this is one area where technology alone doesn't solve the problem. You can have all the technology that you want. All right? You can assume that the rural area have the mobile technology. Some of them have. Like BTPN's case, they have two products. They have one called Genius, and the other one is called Wow. Have you heard of Wow? Wow. I think Genius is supposed to be targeting generation like you. Wow is targeting the rural people. Wow is actually a featured phone. It's based on not the smartphone. So it's featured phone, use SMS. You know, it's like you have to key in number. It's a bit like SMS banking. Have you done SMS banking? You just type 1, 2, 3, 4, and then so they use that kind of technology to reach out to the people out there. Okay, so they settle the technology piece, right? Because people there can afford to have this technology, right? But the problem is when you come to logistic, when you come to reaching out to think who can go there to do this, to become. So what they do is BTPN, they are very strong in terms of their agency network. So they have a lot of agent that they send out to the rural area. All right, so these agents are not branches. So I differentiate between a branch and agents. All right, branches, big BRI, this kind of banks have a lot of branches all over, but they are not stopping at branch, because even branches you can only reach to a small village. Okay, you can go there, but the agent can take motorbike and go all the way in. All right, so the concept of opening bank account using an agent, are you comfortable with the idea? So that means you don't come to the bank to verify yourself. Like normally, if you want to go to open a bank account, you need to do KYC, what they call know your customer. You need to do KYC authentication. All right, but a lot of time you can only do it if you go to a physical branch. All right, but for a bank to open so many branches, even out in the wilderness, is difficult. So I need to change the concept of branch. So I think recently, Indonesia, if I'm not wrong, they have changed the regulation to do that. So now an agent, a human, an agent can actually be a person to verify your KYC. All right, so they basically rely on a very comprehensive network of agents to do that. So in the BTPN's case, they are still not partnering with startup. Okay, they think they can do it themselves because they think that it is their strength. Because BTPN is one of those banks that actually excel in reaching to the poor. All right, so as a result, they think it's their unique strength, so I don't need to partner with you. Right, but there are also others like some of the microfinance company, they will actually want to partner with some of the banks. So I would say that, yeah, in this competitive space, some people want to do it themselves, some people want to partner with people who have the branch network. Yeah, so that's the case. So I understand, if I'm not wrong, somebody is partnering BRI. Is it GoPay? I'm not sure. Yeah, so somebody, BRI also have a very wide distributed network of agents. So somebody want to partner BRI as well. Yeah, but you just raised a point about how do incumbent respond? So if I'm a BRI today, if I'm a big bank in Indonesia today, should I be worried about Alipay? Should I? Or should I just go on business as usual? And if I'm worried about Alipay, how should I respond? Should I respond by myself, go and invest the technology myself, go to the rural area myself, or do I partner with some fintech startup? Okay, so these are a lot of the board level decision, the senior management decision where they have to make to say, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Okay. 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 So basically that is the first stage of Ant Financial's credit. So interestingly, this credit score is, their statement here is interesting. So credit is the capital for trust. And this capital of trust can be used in many areas beyond finance. All right, that's very interesting because they look beyond finance. It's no longer just to give you a loan. So with a strong credit score in Alipay, for example, you can go and borrow a bike. Do you have a bike sharing facility in Singapore, in Indonesia? OFO bike, my bike, what's that? So you can borrow bicycle. Thailand has? Thailand has. Indonesia don't have yet. Okay lah, maybe you should start up a company and do bike sharing. Huh? Yes, you impossible for you to ride. Nobody, here basically your bicycle is your motorbike. Yeah, right, that's right. So I guess somebody has studied. So in China, your credit score can give you ability to rent a bike without deposit. So even when you do apply for visa, government visa, you don't need to put deposit because you have a high score. You go to hotel, want to book a room, we need to put a $1,000 credit card deposit first. If you have a high score, don't need. So you notice they have used the credit score beyond finance. So it becomes an indication of your credit score, credit worthiness. It's like, it becomes your capital. All right? You are just represented by your score. So at the end of the day, you become a score. So you have this level of score, and then if you have a high score, you go to medical hospital, you want to do an A&E check-in, because you have high score, you go straight. You don't need people to question you about your thing. And you go to hotel, you just go in straight. All right? So you notice it has gone beyond finance. It's just not just on banks alone. Okay, so this is the asset that they have. All right, and the asset that they have is very powerful because they have the information not just from Taobao, the commerce website, they have it from payment, they also have a lot of other things. Okay, so, and then that's the first stage. The first stage, they built up the credit score foundation. And then the second stage, what they do is they start to look at what the customer needs. Okay, so they put they basically embed themselves in the customer's life. So imagine the customer wake up in the morning, what do they need to do? They need to take bus, you enable mobile. So they basically string up all these other activities and enabled them on Alipay. All right. So basically, customer will become the center of everything. Right. Same thing. GoPay now can only pay for GoPay. Can you use GoPay to pay hospital bill? Not yet. All right. Coming. Not yet. All right. Can you use GoPay to pay transport, bus transport? No, not yet. Is it? Okay. So imagine GoPay, it will be going the direction. All right. So hopefully, if GoPay succeed, you will see them embedding themselves around the customer's life, right? In whichever area that they focus on. Okay, so they not only grow on the customer side, they also enabled the merchant. So that's one thing good about today's market, because what we are talking about is an e-marketplace. E-marketplace, if I enable the customer growth, I also enable growth in my merchant. Okay, the merchants see that more customer is coming in, more merchant will want to come in. More merchant come in, more customer also want to come in. So you notice this kind of growth keep reinforcing each other. Okay, so that's how they go through the second stage of growth. Okay, and that's not the end, right? So this is the third stage of their growth. Okay, the third stage of their growth is that they start to see themselves being more than a financial company. So in the past, they've been doing a lot of financial innovation. They give you loan based on the data they have. They give you deposit, they give you loan, they give you insurance, they give you everything. So all the financial related product was introduced by them. Right, but I think now they have gone even further. They see themselves not as fintech, but they call themselves techfin. Okay, so the purpose is to emphasize the technology portion of it. At the end of the day, they ask themselves, am I a financial company or am I a tech company? So what do you think? Is GoJack a taxi company or is GoJack a tech company? Tech company. Why do you all say so? All right. Okay, so that's a question to ask. That's a question to ask because sometimes you forget that what is my competitive strength? All right, what is your competitive strength versus the bank? So they have been struggling with this question, oh, am I a bank or am I a technology company? So if I'm a bank, if I'm a financial product company, what should make me more like a financial company? I have to develop my financial product. I have to deepen my complex product structuring. I have to do swap. I have to do derivative. I have to do, after a while, I have to do all kind of financial innovation. But this is not their strength, right? But when they are, what they are strong at is that they are good at technology. I'm good at cloud computing. I'm good at facial recognition. I'm good at AI. I'm good at whatever. So they begin to realize that this is like their competitive edge. Okay, so that's why they sort of move on to the next phase of their life now. Okay, so which is happening right now. In fact, I saw them just 2-3 weeks ago. So their strategy has shifted. So now their role is to enable the banks. So they are no longer seeing themselves as competing with the banks. They are trying to enable the bank in the sense that helping all the incumbent banks, helping all the banks to become technologically more savvy. So they are selling a lot of technology through their platform. Okay, they are technology like platform as a service, data as a service, infrastructure as a service. You know, all these kind of things are coming up. And they are making a lot of money out of this. Same thing for Amazon. Amazon today, what's the biggest fastest growth area for Amazon? Is it in their retail business? No, right? So which is it? In their AWS, right? Right, in their Amazon Web Services. So they're selling cloud technology, they're selling web services. So for those companies who doesn't have the ability to build their cloud infrastructure on their own, they will go to Amazon and get it from Amazon. Right, so they have moved on to the third stage of their trajectory. Okay, but again, they are not without challenge. So the case will talk about how they evolved, and the case will also talk about their challenges. So if you are competing in the fintech space, they are not the only one. Which other company are there? WeChat Pay. All right. So you notice those companies that actually have a very strong control of customer relationship. All right. WeChat is their social media platform. Okay. Alibaba is their Alipay. So Jack Ma called the WeChat space digital red packet a Pearl Harbor attack on Alipay. All right, because WeChat Pay has come up very, very strongly as well. Because a lot of time people use WhatsApp. It's like WhatsApp Pay, right? So you use WhatsApp, you just pay your friend. It's very easy for you to do that. And it's very fun. Have you all have the red packet thing? Do you have the red packet functionality here? You know, Chinese had this tradition of giving red packet during Chinese New Year. I think, yeah, ang pao. You all do that too, right? So they make it very fun. You can grab, everybody go and click that phone, and then they randomly assign it to you. So it's quite fun to do that. All right. So I guess one of the challenges is how do you keep up with the technology? Being a technology company, how do you know Google tomorrow won't come into Google Pay? How do you know Facebook tomorrow won't come in with Facebook Pay? All right. So there are a lot of these kind of challenges that they need to deal with. And then they also try to move to China is also your inclusive finance strategy. All right, they try to move their business model to the other second, third region of it. Okay, and of course they are more ambitious than this. So they are trying to bring this model outside China as well. Okay, so can this model be applicable outside China? And then if so, how can they bring this discussion, this model out? Okay, I think I have bought you enough already. So let's get started again. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to this case again. So I would like to do a bit of discussion here. Since you guys haven't really read the case, I can't really expect too much from you. I will just probably just based on what I have discussed in the first session, based on your understanding of the case, from what I mentioned, probably we can sort of talk a little bit about this, right? So I guess first question is, why is Ant Financial able to disrupt finance in China? Any quick remarks? Why? Why do you think Ant Financial is able to disrupt the financial finance in China? What specific advantage do they have? Okay, come, let me share whatever you think about. I think there are three questions that I want to address. One is, why is Ant Financial able to disrupt finance in China? From your observation of Ant Financial, how do you think fintech innovation transform traditional finance? And what are the real competitive advantages of a company like Ant Financial? Any thoughts?
I think about the accessibility.
Accessibility, again, yeah. Explain a bit.
Because with this technology, they have easy access to this kind of services. So if you wanna, for example, you wanna pay for this, you get easy access. So that's why I think Ant Financial able to disrupt finance in China.
Okay, what specific technology is that?
The Alipay.
Alipay.
Yeah, Alipay can pay almost everything in there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes it easy for consumer and producer to actually connect to each other.
Okay.
Without using banks or other intermediary.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So what the reason why I want to do this kind of discussion is that as we discuss this, I think you should take note of what are the key factors that you need to have to succeed. All right. Only when you become a bit clearer in terms of what are the factors you need to succeed, then you can think about whether you can replicate these factors here or replicate these factors somewhere else. All right, if you find that you cannot replicate these factors here, then you find that it can be successful in China, but it's not going to work here. All right, so I guess that's the overall purpose of my discussion. So I want you to surface what sort of factors that drive the success of Ant Financial. So one point that came across is that they have control of accessibility, okay, which is possible.
Thank you. I would think that logical and effective decision making, as they as said before, they use the credit scoring, so they wouldn't need such as a financial analyst to consider whether this person is worthy of a loan or not.
Good. So he's suggesting another area of potential. So it's a unique data resource that they have, which allowed them to do creditworthiness check. All right. So one suggestion is that they have control of accessibility, and a lot of time when we use the word accessibility, you know, you can talk about Alipay, but Alipay is actually on your mobile phone. So a lot of the technology that gives you accessibility is about mobile app. So that's why there's a lot of excitement in banks today. Everybody wants to do apps development. All right, so that's one area that you want. If you are thinking of a technical career, all right, go into apps development. Because that's the kind of thing people talk about in the technology world. No point talking about your COBOL programming, even your SAP system, you know, accounting student, do you all learn SAP system, ERP system? Yeah, so those are useful technology to learn, but they are a little bit, I would say, obsolete today, right? It's still relevant in a lot of big companies, but I think the really hot stuff are actually into apps development. Okay, so how do you do quick, agile app development, innovative app development? Right, so I think the other part of the resources that we sort of highlighted is this thing about data resource. Where do you think they get the data from? All over, right? Right, so they have their data partly coming from the huge ecosystem that they have. Okay, the huge ecosystem that they have, which is big. When you talk about Ant Financial, if you dig deeper behind Ant Financial, it's actually not Ant Financial. It's actually the Alibaba group. Right? If you look deeper in it, it's actually Alibaba, it's Taobao, it's Alibaba.com, it's Cainiao, it is Yuebao. It's a huge ecosystem behind it. Okay, so the question is that if a bank today want to do this, okay, let's say BRI tomorrow or some of the bank here said, oh, let me try to compete with a potential company like this. Do you think they are able to build this level of data resource? Do you think they are able to build this level of data resource? Some of them are trying, right? Some of them are trying. But what it basically means that your data resource today, based on what you have in the enterprise, is no longer enough. Okay, if you are a bank, you want to compete in this game based on your bank enterprise data, is no longer enough. Banks should think of a data sharing agreement with telco company, for example. All right, so banks should think about how they can collaborate with a telco company outside your industry. Banks should think about collaborating with the e-commerce company. Why? Because you want to capture the data. All right? So now there is this term called data is the new oil. All right? In the digital world, you know, in the normal industrial world, oil is the precious resources. All right? In the digital era, data is the oil. All right, so whoever who can get access to a lot of data, you are going to be the dominant player in the digital economy. All right, so data, if you look at it, where does data come from? Data come a lot from banking transaction, but that's what we call a single dimensional data. Yeah, data also come from telco. You know, telco capture a lot of your data. Your mobile phone, you know, all kind of data, they know a lot about you, where your location is. All right. So e-commerce transaction, you buy things on the internet, Spotify, all this company, they capture a lot of your data. So individually, they are not powerful. Individually, you only have Spotify data. Okay, interesting enough, they may guess a bit of your behavior, but not powerful enough. It is the cross-industry data that is actually useful. So a lot of time, when we start looking at what is the strategic advantage going forward, you need to have that kind of data. So if you have an ecosystem that gives you this cross-disciplinary, cross-industry sharing of data, then that is your advantage. Right? But if you are in the traditional industry, you don't have the ability to access other people's data, you are at a disadvantage. So if I'm a bank, I will be a little bit worried in this area, because however much data I have about my customer, it is still the BRI customer. It's not even BTPN customer. You know, it's like I only have this view. All right. Then when I go to another bank, I only have this view. So you notice the current data structure in the traditional industry is highly segmented, highly fragmented. Whereas a company like Alipay, a company like GoPay, all right, GoPay, you can connect all the other banks to GoPay. So GoPay become the front. Okay, GoPay become the front that own the customer relationship. Okay, whereas the bank become what we call a utility player. They are just one player. Right? So you will see this kind of competitive dynamic happening. Whoever is able to control the customer relationship. So if you are a WhatsApp, you are able to capture the customer, you are able to own the customer relationship. That is a very important strategic advantage. If you are GoPay, right, you are able to capture the customer's relationship. Yes, you will be very strategic. So banks are having this difficulty right now. Okay, banks are having this difficulty right now, but banks are still not giving up. Banks are still fighting in this area. So for example, you see a lot of banks are moving into e-commerce. In China, ICBC Bank, one of the biggest bank in the world, ICBC is their incumbent bank, something like BRI here. ICBC Bank, they actually created their own e-commerce website. So they actually start to sell things moving away from the traditional banking business, but they create their own e-commerce website. All right, so that whoever transact in the e-commerce space, I will also capture your information. Okay, but still not good enough. Okay, so you notice they control accessibility, data, anything else that make them successful, that give them a competitive advantage?
My name is Ricardo from the accounting department. In my opinion, if I'm not mistaken, the government really supports the financial technology in China, and they give easier regulations for them to have the business. So with this government support, they can expand their business really easy in China, especially for Chinese technologies.
Okay, government support. Agree?
Cooperation between the fintech which is unfinancial with the market leaders, such as so many companies, they have like a strong partnership. So the cooperation between the fintech and other
the cooperation with that. Okay, so you're talking about the cooperation that fintech Alipay has with the other incumbent company.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think that's one feature that they have. Okay. Okay, let me talk about government support in this case. Okay, in this case, what we have here is, okay, I don't know whether, have you come across this word called institutional entrepreneurs versus tech entrepreneurs? Okay, there are two types of entrepreneurs. Okay, okay, there are three types. One is the more business entrepreneur. You want to set up a muffin shop, you're going to become an entrepreneur. Right? Then you have the tech entrepreneurs. You use the technology, you start a business, then you change up. And then hopefully somebody will buy you up. And then you become a millionaire. All right? Then this case is what we call an institutional entrepreneur. The word institutional entrepreneur. Okay, institutional entrepreneurs are a lot more serious than tech entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, you compete based on your advantage. Institutional entrepreneur, you shake the system. Okay, you disintermediate the banks. So like in this case, they disintermediate the banks. So usually, if you want to do this kind of entrepreneurship, you will need to have a bit of government support. All right, you need to have a lot of government support. I guess in China's situation, government is very supportive. I think even in Indonesia, I know a person like Nadim, for example, has a very close relationship with the government. All right, so a lot of them, you need to show them that you are actually contributing, not just in terms of money, but a lot of them actually have the underlying financial inclusive agenda. That means they are helping to reach out to the poor people, right? So yeah, I think government support is one. All right, and this part about collaboration with the incumbent. All right, this one is a journey. In the case of Alipay, initially when they started, they only offer their own product. Okay, they only give Alibaba related financial product. But over time, they have opened it up, okay, to include the other product as well. So there's a stronger and stronger collaboration that's happening. Again, this one could be strategic in the sense that I don't want to be seen as competing with the bank. Okay, so if you talk to GoPay people, they are very conscious. They will tell you, hey, don't say that we are. Because sometimes when we want to write a case about GoPay, they will tell you, oh, don't say that we are disrupting the bank. The regulator don't like. So we must say that they complement the banks. All right, because the industry people, the regulator will become very worried if you do so. Okay? Okay, so let me just flip through some of these things. I think some of the discussion you have already done so. Okay, what happened is in the case of Ant Financial, you have a huge, what we call an institutional void. All right, you have to fill up this void. Okay, like in the case of Singapore, we don't really have a huge void. Because I told you the credit card, the current industry is already feeling the need. Here you have a big needs. And then you have to engage the government to do all this thing, right? Okay, so this is a quote from GoJack CEO. So you notice what they do is they need to do a lot of government support. Okay, so the way they frame GoJack's model is that they are also not just helping to improve unemployment, they are helping government to address the issue of underemployment in the informal sector. So in the case of GoJack, Driver, GoLive, they are actually enabling a lot of people to, not just unemployed, to be better employed, right? Underemployment, and then they can work throughout. Okay, so there's a lot of need for you to phrase your or position your competitive strategy such that it includes the other people as well, right? Social and economic development. Okay, I guess I want to talk a little bit about that. So when you ask the question, how does fintech change the way financial innovation works? Okay, so fintech changed a few things. All right, if you look at the cost of finance, if you look at the cost in the financial industry, where are the costs coming from? Okay, so you look at the cost of finance, what are the issues here? So you notice if you talk about financial industry, so cost of acquisition, how do I get customer? All right, getting customer is one issue. You know, traditionally, where do we get customer? The bank will have to do a lot of marketing. All right, nowadays you see the bank when they do try to get customer, they go to social media. You got all the social media influencer, right? You have a lot of people being pushed mobile advertisement, right? So mobile technology help, operation cloud technology help, risk management analytics help. All right, even the cost of fund. All right, you heard of this thing called peer-to-peer lending. All right, we sort of mentioned a little bit about it. So peer-to-peer lending will also help the banks, the banks to so-called reduce their costs, right? So those are the things that you will see changing. So one level of reduction, one level of impact is in terms of cost reduction. All right. The other level of impact that you see in fintech is that they redesign the customer experience. Okay, this is the part that is quite powerful. Like URPAO is the one that will let you put money into some money market fund so that you can earn interest. 310 microloan, my bank. They even have their own bank. Okay, so I thought this statement is important. Okay, so in the past, finance and various consumption scenarios are often separated. In the future, these two will become together. All right, so traditionally, when we want to do transaction, we want to buy a house, we go to the market, property market, we buy a house. Then after we decide on the house, then we go to the bank. Okay, we need to make 2 trips. One trip to buy the house, then another trip to the bank to settle my financial arrangement. All right, so this is the part that will be changing a lot. Right, this is where they call this kind of change making the bank invisible. All right, you want to make the bank invisible. So essentially what you do is you just go to this property market, buy the property, and immediately you can choose, say, do I want to do this, do I want to get a loan for this transaction? Can be done. So it is going to be combined, all right, at the point where you settle the transaction. Okay, so this is the thing that you will see a lot. Okay, so that's why banks are moving up front. All right, in Singapore, DBS Bank is moving to invest in a property e-marketplace. Is moving into an automobile marketplace. So they are all moving forward, trying to combine the two decisions more. Okay, but I think fintech is more than that. Okay, fintech also disintermediate the banks. All right, so we sort of heard before. So now they disintermediate the bank, but they are coming back to remediate. So you see the 2 steps here. One is they take away the bank. Okay, then they come back here and remediate. That means they still become the middleman. There is still a middleman here, but they become a middleman that will enable all kind of products. So they will give product not only from their bank, they're also from their competitors' bank. So from the customer perspective, which is very convenient, I just go to one place, it's a one-stop shop, then I can see all kind of product. So it's like I want to put my money into a fixed deposit. There is no reason why I shouldn't put my money into another bank's deposit if that rate is higher. All right, so I go to one platform, I can see this bank's deposit rate, I can see another bank's deposit rate, I can see the other bank's deposit rate. So what they do is they remediate on behalf of the customer, right? So that the customer will derive value from it. Okay? Okay, finally, I think this is the part where you talk about, yes, it also expands the market size. Okay? Okay, this is the part where you grow the customer, you also grow the merchant. You grow the customer more, they will grow the merchant more. So you notice the pie has grown. All right. In the past, what you have is that you have the banking customer as people who are credit worthy. So now you have the banking customer as customer that's not just credit worthy, but also the credit unworthy based on traditional means. Traditional criteria. So you bringing in the underbanked, you are bringing in the unbanked. So this is where the market has become even bigger. Okay, so this again is a quote from the Nadim. Okay, because the sharing economy is one of the few business models that not only optimizes a particular market, it actually grows the market itself. Right, so you notice the market grow. It is one of those business models that concurrently grow demand and supply at the same time. Okay, GoJack views the informal sector as an elastic resource that can be expanded in ways that could not be imagined. Right, so because he sees it that way, he look at the informal sector. You look at the informal sector, not just OJack driver. There are Masua. There are people who go glam, the fingernails, yeah, and then go clean. So we start to look at informal sector as a supply source that is inherently elastic. Okay, traditionally, our econ assumption is that resources are limited. Okay, but you have this situation where the resources suddenly become unlimited. Okay, that's also a very powerful notion. Where what happens when resources become unlimited? All right, so that's require a different kind of model. Okay, so let me quickly talk about what are the real competitive advantages of Ant Financial. So this one you should know. So we sort of talked about it earlier. You highlighted the fact that there's a lot of digital ecosystem behind it. But I think beyond that is also the fact that they are a technology company. All right, they are a technology company. So specifically, they sort of put one of the advantage that they have is a cutting edge technology. All right, but as we all know, can technology be a sustainable competitive advantage? Cannot, right? Why not?
Because it will always be updated day by day and people invent something new there, and so that's why I think that cannot be sustainable for the long time.
Right, so probably technology, to compete based on technology alone is a dangerous proposition. Because as you said, other people can pick up. But why is it that at this point in time, technology is a big advantage for all the startups? It's not just them. If you look across, one of the biggest technology that is coming through is actually in this area of technology. Okay, so let me show you what's the difference. Okay, so traditional company tend to emphasize on what I would call enterprise technologies. Whereas today's company focus on what I would call consumer technologies. All right, so traditionally for many, many years, our focus is always on enterprises. Okay, even in your accounting classes, I think management classes, when you learn technology, you learn about accounting information system. Do you do accounting information system? Yeah, then after that you will learn CRM. Yeah, you will learn ERP, right? Enterprise Resource, SAP system, Oracle system, PeopleSoft system. Then you will learn supply chain management system, SCM. Then supplier relationship management, then product development system. So you notice all this while, a lot of our technology are what I will call enterprise technologies. Enterprise technology meaning that the main customer, the main beneficiary of the technology are the enterprises. All right, but now, since Google come in, since Facebook come in, since Amazon come in, we begin to deal with different types of technologies. Where the technology is on your mobile phone, where the technologies are the apps world. Some people call it the apps world. Okay, everything is now downloadable with your mobile phone. Okay, this is the technology that traditional enterprises are not used to. These are not used to. They are not used to doing this kind of technologies. The traditional enterprise IT uses legacy system, mainframe system, client server technology. And then when they develop system, they have to go through the waterfall system development life cycle, right? You learn the system SDLC. They will go through, you must do analysis first. Then you do design. Then after that you do implementation, testing, then you do implementation, right? That's what you are taught. Okay, but you know how long is a cycle? Typically, you want to implement ERP system, it will take 1 year, 6 months, 8 months. But can you survive using an 8 months methodology in today's world? Cannot. Cannot. So that's the difference. All right. So today's technology, if you look at people in GoJack, people in Mapan, people in BTPN is having a lot of issue as well, right? Because they come from the traditional company. But if you look at a lot of the startup company, they don't operate like this. They will operate what they call using agile methodology. They will do a lot of Scrum teams, right? Scrum. They will just gather a group of people, they develop, and then they will roll out the system immediately. So if you see an interface on your mobile phone that they don't like, immediately they make changes, and then the next day, the new version come out. So imagine you are using this kind of technology, all right, today. But in a lot of the traditional enterprise, sorry, cannot. Most of the time, my mindset is already set. And most of the IT people in the traditional organization, they are not used to app development, all right, at this kind of speed. So this is where there is a big gap in terms of tech talent. So again, coming back to your generation, it is still important to understand how ERP works, how SAP works, all right? But that technology tends to be enterprise technology. All right, if you are working in that kind of area, it's still important, but it is not the exciting part of it. Okay, so a lot of company are looking for people who have apps development background, who are excited about joining a customer innovation team to do this kind of stuff, right? So what I would call the agile consumer IT technologies. Okay, so this is the difference right now. Okay, but as I said, it is a competitive advantage at this point in time. But 3 years down the road, when all the big company has already caught up, I think a lot of company are already catching up in terms of hiring this kind of people, then I think it may no longer be a competitive advantage. Okay? Okay, so I guess today's technology, we are just talking about all this mobile, cloud computing, big data, those kind of stuff. Huh? Let's see. So there's this notion called born digital. Okay, so there's this tech DNA that people want, everybody wants to be a startup DNA, to have a startup DNA, all right? But it is something to think about. Okay, so they operate in a very quick way. Have you all heard of this thing called agile methodologies? No, huh? Okay, agile. So that is also the other thing that people are talking about in the industry, that you have to be a lot more agile in terms of your approach, in terms of your working style. All right, so and then the thing is, they are applying agile not just to IT people, they are applying agile everywhere. So if you are audit department, you also have to work in an agile basis. You are in the accounting department, you also need to work in a very agile basis, right? So people are talking about this kind of methodologies. Okay, so this one we have talked about GoJack, all right? So the good thing about GoJack is that it is on-demand service for on-demand apps for services, which is interesting, right? It is a bit like Amazon, but Amazon sells retail goods, right? Whereas GoJack has created a model where he can bring services online. So it's an online to offline kind of model. So you order things online, but you receive the services offline. Okay, so that is also a very powerful model that it not only allows you to sell online goods, but it also allows you to sell services, okay, which is huge. Okay, so this one, I guess, in some way, we sort of talk about it. Okay, so these incumbent strategies. All right, so if let's say the Central Bank of Indonesia has given a banking license to Ant Financial to operate in Indonesia, should the incumbent bank be worried about it? Should? Yeah, I guess so lah. Yeah. Yeah? Competition, right? So definitely should. Okay, but hey, where is it? Okay, so this is what we should have. I mean, you should see this before. So I think Jack Ma also mentioned this thing before. We're interested in catching streams. The way they are positioning themselves right now, I think same thing for GoPay, is that I'm really not fighting for the big fish with you. I'm actually interested in people who are poorer, generally in the lower level of income. Okay, so they are trying to catch the streams. All right, but this is what we call disruptive innovation. Okay, disruptive innovation is where you enter a market where the current player are not interested in. You enter a market by going into a market that the current players are not interested in. So if you look at the big banks today, they are not interested in the low income customer. Okay, because they are, you have a lot of cost to serve them, but you cannot get as much payoff. So as far as the big banks are concerned, this segment of customer is not their focus. And because it's not their focus, this kind of company can come in. Okay, and the worst thing is after they have come in, they have developed their capability, then they will go and fight with you. Okay, so this is the situation today. So I'm not sure, how many of you intend to join incumbent banks? Do you all plan to join next time? When I think from your course is management, econs, and Accounting, right? Yeah, so chances are you will join. Some of you may join. All right? Right, so you have to join one of this kind of firm. So are you worried about joining a firm or not? Let me share a bit with me. Do you have any concern of joining any of this firm? Right, auditing firm. Banks. I guess business. Okay. How many of you want to join audit firm? Audit firm? Audit firms. Okay. How many of you want to join banks? Yeah, also there. How many want to join business? I will just put business consulting. Oh, okay. Okay. What other kind of firm you want to join? How about tech? How many of you want to join tech firm? Wow. Wow, you're very versatile, okay? Okay. Any other kind of firms? How many of you want to join government? Okay. Oh, excellent. Excellent. So let's focus on audit firm. Do you think audit firm is going to be disrupted? Oh, yes. Why?
Because audit is basically you're rechecking the financial statements if they match or not, right? So, but a computer can calculate better than a human could ever be, even though they're like a genius. So I would think that it would be disrupted by the influence of technology.
Yeah.
That we usually do by the computer, it can be disrupted by the technology, but for professional judgment of the auditor, I think it's very difficult to, because it needs a lot of,
professional,
professional
right.
or something like that.
Okay. You agree with her? She said that, oh no, audit firm, auditor, you cannot displace them because you need to exercise your professional judgment, right?
Yeah. Even if the AI, keep developing, but I think the professional judgment is something that
used to be an argument where, the loan officer, in the HQ, they have a credit analyst whose job is to decide whether to give you loan or not. So they'll say you can never replace the discretion of a credit analyst. Okay? Okay, I would agree a bit with you. Yeah, but I guess the point is that you still need auditors, but you don't need so many. Agree?
Agree.
So you don't need so many, because a lot of the traditional job, like financial analysis, ratio calculation, you can already predict. In fact, there are models that do bankruptcy prediction. You study so hard, do financial statement analysis, you compare the cash flow ratio, but what do? You basically compare ratio. You call current asset over current liabilities. It's a ratio. If the ratio is less than don't know what, it's dangerous. Then in the case of computer system, they do not just compare one ratio. They compare thousands of ratio. And based on that, they build a model to predict bankruptcy. So before you audit a firm, you already ask the computer system to go in and analyze this company to say, oh, let's look at this company, how likely is it going to default? You already have a sense. All right, which is what is already happening. I think in case of the DBS Bank, which I've talked about, they have analyzed such that 50% of their audit are done using computer system. 50%, I'm not talking about 15%, it's 50%. So a lot of their audit is done using ratio analysis. So they do a lot of risk assessment based on algorithm. Okay, the actual audit work is still being done. But just that before they do the audit, they already know which branch is the most likely to default. So what they do is they have a, audit, you have to do this audit cycle thing. You want to audit, especially internal audit. All right, you have to go around to these bank branches in this place and then another bank branches. So you go on a cyclical basis. So in the past, it's like they do it in a very cyclical basis. Okay, this part hasn't gone for 3 years already, I must go back. Okay, but now they do that, assess the choice of which branch to audit based on risk assessment. So it is the AI model, so they do it based on actual data that is coming in every day. So they link it to their ERP system. They link the model to the ERP system, and ERP system will typically generate AR balances, right? Total AR balances, total AP balances, total cash balance, and based on that, you can already calculate some kind of ratio. Do I have enough money to pay or not? Overall, how is my cash position? If I find that this particular branch always short in terms of cash position, this is one area that I want to audit. Right? So possible. So audit firm still have hope, right? Just fewer. Probably the pie become a bit smaller. Okay. 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 Banks. Banks, after looking at Ant Financial case, do you think they'll have hope? Yes, must have a bit of hope, right? So which kind of activity should, if I ask you to advise a bank now, okay, bank has so many activities. They handle payment, they do remittance, they do deposit, they do investment, they do wealth management, they do private banking, they do investment banking, they do enterprise banking, they do so many things. So what would you advise the bank to do? Which one not to do? Which one do more? And you have to decide because you must know which branch of the bank you are going to join. If I retail banking, should I go into retail banking? Retail banking. Retail banking is where you touch a lot of your customer. Should. You should. Why? Why you don't worry about retail banking?
It's only my personal opinion because right now we have like big retail banking such as HSBC maybe in Singapore also, and I think they have a promising future. I mean, they can offer so much benefits, so that's why not because of.
Yeah, but don't be tricked by the banks, because one thing about the bank is that they pay you very high salary. They pay you very high salary. So the problem is you have to ask yourself, is this high salary worth it for my exposure there? Right? I have my first class honor in my course in first class honor. Before he graduated, he got a $7,000 Sing dollars salary package. He, I think, joined one of the overseas investment banks. Can't remember which one. So $7,000. So I asked him, what does he do in the bank? So at first I thought it's very exciting. So he said he handled a lot of spreadsheet. All he does is spreadsheet. So basically what he does is, because in investment banking they have to do risk assessment. So what they do is the investment banks, you will be surprised how backward the banking system are, even for the international banks. Right, so what happens is their treasury system come from this side. And then their trading system is this side. Their normal balance sheet is this side. So what he does is that because there's no integrated system, one of the ERP problem, if you have ERP problem, you know what ERP is about, is this problem about getting the data, put them into a same data set. So all he does is to spend his day doing this. And he has to write a lot of macro. Of course, his Excel has become very good. All right. But the thing is that he is not gaining exposure. He's not out there negotiating treasury transaction. He's not out there. All he does is the back-end support for all the relationship manager in front. So I told him, you better think about getting out. All right, so it is not necessary that they pay you well, you should go. Okay, so you have to be very careful which part of the bank you are going into. Okay, so one big part of the bank that you should be a bit more wary is the retail banking area. All right, retail banking, largely, as I said, this is the part where the startup technology firm has a big advantage over you. They are very consumer oriented. They are more consumer oriented than the bank. Even though the bank keeps saying that, oh, we are very customer facing, we're customer oriented, but they don't own a lot of the front end technology. All right, so in fact, most of people like your generation don't go to the bank anymore. You are a consumer. You are the potential retail banking customer. So a lot of banks are downsizing their branches, downsizing their ATM, or downsizing in many ways, right? So the retail banking side, be a bit careful. Enterprise banking, still okay. If you're talking about enterprise banking, doing business with company, helping company to manage their cash flow, that one is still not so bad, because that one typically you need a lot more in-depth enterprise knowledge. Okay? So I would so see that this part of it, things that related to payment, credit card, retail banking, this one you'll be a little bit more careful. Okay, but the rest, still okay. So bank has to do what it actually designed to do. Banks are supposed to create innovative products. Banks are supposed to help you to manage your risk. They should go back to all this fundamental. Okay, then you will still have banking job there. Okay, so tech. Okay, tech I guess is okay lah. Tech. Okay, tech. Again, you have to decide what kind of tech. You want to become the tech, as in very high-tech kind of tech, is where you have to do, there's infra, there's app development. Okay, so again, you want to decide where to play. Play yourself. Infrastructure is interesting, but it is potentially commoditizable. That means the job can shift to India, the job can shift to other places, because this is about cloud. This is very standard. Okay, apps development maybe slightly better. Okay. One good area to go in now is in business consulting. This area of work, if you are interested, it should be the one that is actually most exciting. Okay, because of all this disruption. Okay, the good thing about the fact is that no one knows exactly what should be the right way to go. This is the best time for consulting to come in. Because consultant also can bullshit his way. You just have to do this, do this, do this. It seems reasonable, then you can do it. Yeah, and this is also true in analytics. Huh? Okay, so for those of you who want to do to focus on a career in analytics, you should also think through this path. Okay, this path is highly so-called lucrative now. Okay, now, but it can be very boring. All right, so there are a few types of analytics people. Okay, you can have the business analyst type. You can have the mathematics type. So for those people who really want to do analytics, you have to like mathematics to start with. All right, and their mathematics are heavy mathematics. Huh? So you must like those kind of things. All right, but if you are more the customer facing, helping the customer to design solution, then you should go into this line. Okay, so business analytics, business consulting will be a good course for you to look through. All right, do you have a business analytics program in your university? Yes or no? Don't have, huh? Okay. But anyway, I would advise you to pick up some of this skill on your own. All right, especially as you move along, before you graduate at least. All right, there are a lot of things that you can pick up on your own, especially when it comes to analytics. There are a lot of online learning tools. Okay, that's the other thing to highlight to you in today's world. Because not only audit firm is being disrupted, the other thing that is being disrupted is the education industry. Okay? We haven't seen it yet, but it is coming. Professor, like us. All right? So what I'm telling you is the education industry is itself being disrupted. Okay, I would say that in general, university react very slowly to this. Okay, all these changes are not happening in the university. If you look at the exciting technology, do you look at the exciting programming code, you look at the exciting and analytic technologies, they are not happening in the university. They are happening outside. Okay, they are happening in Alibaba's research lab. They are happening in Google's lab, somewhere. But they are not happening in the university. So one thing you have to ask yourself again, right, is how can I learn on my own? Don't wait for the university to design a program and for you to learn. So you have to be a little bit more proactive in learning. All right? Again, I share experience with you. I have a student who was supposed to join university. He got a place with NTU. He recently joined a hackathon. You know what's a hackathon? Hackathon? Okay, so hackathon are those forum that company organize, all right, where they bring in some tech people, they bring in some business people, and then jointly they develop a solution, but within like a 1 week period. So a bank can organize hackathon to say that these are the 50 problems I have in my company. I want you guys to solve it. So 50 project or so. So they will just gather. So this guy is just a junior college guy who came in to join the hackathon. So eventually he came up with a good solution. So after giving the solution, do his thing, he didn't win the hackathon, but his project was good enough to be listed as one of the finalists. You know what he did? So he got an offer from NTU, and then he rejected the offer. So he chose not to come to university, but he chose to join the company because the company also offered him a short-term contract. It's not even a long-term contract. A short-term contract to innovate on this project. And he went. Okay, so I'm telling you, there are people out there who believe that I need to be out there to experience the excitement, which is what a lot of people are feeling now. You know, there are a lot of tech entrepreneurs who drop out of school because they cannot wait to finish their 3 years of graduation. Because by the time you finish your 3 years of graduation, you have lost the opportunity. Analytic field is very dynamic, right? This thing, all this excitement about disruption probably lasts another 2 years, 3 years. After that, no more. Nobody going to talk about disruption anymore. All right, because things by then will be stable, because by then you have built up enough talents in the industry. Enough people with experience on how to handle disruption. It's happening now because they are very short of talent. All right? So, I'm not asking you to drop out of university. I'm just telling you, you have an opportunity cost by staying in the university. You have an opportunity cost by staying in the university. And if you do not use your time in the university properly, you will lose all this skill. All right? So basically, what I'm telling you, if you stay on in the university, make sure you go and upgrade yourself somehow. All right? Don't wait for the lecturer to introduce a course on analytics, to learn about analytics. As I said, today's education, we don't learn by lecturer anymore. We learn a lot of things through self-learning. We do a lot of things. In fact, I bet most of you do things by using YouTube video, right? Okay, I had the experience when I drove to Malaysia. So I drove the car, I drove a Volvo car. And then you know nowadays the keyless cars, I don't know how to take out the battery. No, because then suddenly there is no battery in my car, so I cannot open my door. So I was panicking there, don't know what to do. Want to go and find somebody to help me to find how to replace the battery, where to find the battery, how to move out the battery in the first place. No idea. So eventually one of my niece, 11 years old, search YouTube video. This is how you open a keyless key from. I feel so embarrassed. Yeah, I really felt so embarrassed. It's like, wow, these people hasn't even driven a car before. And I've driven a car like for donkey years. And then I don't know how to do some of these kind of basic things. Because they design the key nowadays so compact, you can't see the line, which part of it to push. You know, in a way, in the past, you see the battery holder, you can just... This one is sealed up completely, you cannot see anything. So there's no line for me to push, there's nothing for me to do anything about. Right, so that's where I know today's young people learn differently. Alright, you don't need to wait for a lecturer to kind of introduce a course. If you find that this is a career that you want to pursue, learn more about it on your own. And today there are tons and tons of online material out there that you can learn. Okay? Okay, so that's my digression technique to kill some time. Okay, what else do I want to say? Okay, so as incumbent, I think as for you guys are still okay because you guys are young. All right, you guys don't have legacy issues. But if you imagine you are an incumbent company out there, you have existed there for donkey years. You have so many of your employees in the company who have already accumulated a set of irrelevant skill. So what do you do with them? What do you do with them? You have to close down branches. Where do the cashier not go? Right? You have to retrench people whose work are no longer relevant, who are in the enterprise technology skill set. You want to cut down those people, but you want to employ more the Google type people. Okay, so organization live with legacy issues. Right, so this is one of the issues that we are investigating in the BTPN. Right, BTPN is facing exactly the same issues because you already operated for so long. So they used to be in the pension business. They do a lot of pensioner banking business, but the business has been going down. So they have a lot of skill set that are no longer relevant today. Okay, so they have to come up with a strategy to cut the organization into two. And then they have something like what they call a project Gemilang, right? To help them to transit the people. So you will find that there are people who, as all this digital transformation happens, you will find that you have this thing called digital divide. Okay, so this is the part which we talked about earlier. There's a bit of disparity between people who can and people who can't. You guys are the lucky group. I think you guys, most of you are the can group. Okay, but still there are some people who don't want to move. So in a lot of this organization, how do you manage this divide? So we are no longer talking about digital divide at the societal level. We are talking about digital divide within the organization. So within the organization of 10,000 people, 5,000 people, how do you do this? You have an issue of access, an issue of competency, an issue of mindset. Okay? So issue of access. In the company, how do I decide who gets money, who don't get money? Right? If I'm the management, if I'm the CEO of a bank, I only have 100,000. So 100,000, who do I give to? Do I give to people who are tech savvy, or do I give to people who are not so tech savvy? All right, so these are some of the issues that you have to face. All right, so accessibility is a big issue for those companies. So how do you structure your organization such that you can address some of those issues? And then competency is a big one. A lot of companies have all kind of online learning program, video to help the staff to learn. All right, to reinvent themselves. Okay, and the biggest one is the mindset issues. Okay, biggest one is mindset issues. How do you treat people to let them have this mindset of digital first. Okay, this is what the initial statement of DBS Bank. They want people to train themselves to say that if I encounter any problem, how do I make digital my first way of solving the problem? Can this problem be solved using digital first? Okay, and now they have moved to the next statement. They said is digital to the core. Okay, digital to the core. They really want everything to be digital. All right, so this is a situation right now. A lot of mindset issue to be changed in the organization. All right, so that's also why I say that there is a good prospect if you are going into a business consulting line. Because one of the things that business consulting do is in change management. In the next 2-3 years, you will see a lot of change management required. And change management not just in terms of technology, but also in people's mindset. This is a management consultant's work. How can I create the change through organizational means, through structure, through culture? Some of you are interested in culture. This is the place. Okay, this is a place where you use this kind of management tool to help you change organization. Okay, so a lot of things are happening. Okay, in helping incumbent to move. So for startup, they don't have legacy, easy to move. But most of you are going to join incumbent. All right, but incumbent, as you join the incumbent, just be aware you are the advantaged people, so don't worry too much. You wouldn't be affected, but when you join this kind of company, you have to help them to think of ways to get out of it. Right? So how do they get out of it? So again, I sort of look at the different cases that I do. So one way is to preempt the threat by staying relevant, self-cannibalize where necessary. Again, you look at your product. Where you are charging people fees, can you remove the fees? All right, so used to that be that whenever you want to send the money, if you are using a bank, for example, like for DBS Bank, if I want to send money from Singapore to Indonesia, typically they charge me transaction fees. Right, so yeah, so I have some helper in Singapore, for example, we have. So every time she wants to transfer money back to Indonesia, it's $12 charge, 12 Sing dollars. So that's ridiculous. All right, so DBS Bank has recently removed the fees because there are fintech company out there who can let you transfer money free of charge or at the very minimal rate. So you need to self-cannibalize. So you need to look at your company's operation, your product, your services, and ask yourself, is this fee still reasonable in today's consumer context? So you need to self-cannibalize, you need to kill yourself if necessary. All right? But you need to do this painful process. So incumbent need to self-cannibalize. Okay. The second point is that they also counter disintermediation threat by going upstream. Okay, this is an example where I told you a lot of the banks are moving to non-bank businesses. All right, non-bank businesses. This is also an area where the bank are disadvantaged. Why? Because bank have regulatory concerns. Because as a bank, you can only do bank business. A bank is not supposed to do non-bank business. All right? But the regulator today also know that it's a bit unfair. How can I let a DBS bank compete with Alipay without giving them the same platform? So in the case of DBS Bank in Singapore, they actually asked a regulator for permission. So now they can actually buy e-commerce platform. Okay, so as I mentioned before, they have bought into Carousel. If you are familiar with Carousel, it's also a e-commerce platform. So they have bought into some of this e-commerce platform, Property Guru, e-marketplace. Why? They want to move upstream. Okay, they want to move upstream so that they don't lose the customer connection. As I said earlier, whoever owns the customer connection will have a strong advantage. So what they are doing is that they try to move upstream so that they don't lose the customer connection. Right? You need to deepen your core competency. Again, banks is still at the end of the day a financial company. So each bank is truly a fintech. Whereas Alipay is a TechFin. TechFin, they emphasize more tech. They do a bit of finance. But at the end of the day, bank is fintech. They are using technology to help them to do financing company activity well. So bank has to prove themselves that they are good in finance. So they have to show that they can do complex product structuring. They can show that they add value to the thing, the customer. So as long as you can do that, I think banks will not be displaced. But I would say that increasingly it will be harder for the banks to do it in the retail business. But in the enterprise business, it's still sustainable, I think, at this point. Yes.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel. So I'm about to ask, what if we are working inside of the incumbent, but then again, we're also the consumer of the fintech? Like, we're trying to improve our the place where we're working for, but then again, we don't want to get less comfort by eradicating the fintech.
So you are working in the incumbent company?
Yes, but we're also the customer for the fintech.
Yeah, good. So if you are working in the incumbent company, you should help the incumbent company to change. Yeah. So in a way, you will go and use the fintech services out there. Then you pick up whatever they do that is exciting. They bring it back to the incumbent banks, and then you innovate. So a lot of the incumbent banks today, they run a lot of they call it intra-entrepreneurship. All right, it's not outside external entrepreneurship. They do a lot of intra-entrepreneurship, and they are exactly looking at people, young people like you. So they want the young people to start program, to start initiative. So my advice to you, if you join an incumbent firm, join in some of these kind of activities. Join into one of the agile team. Be familiar with innovation terminology, be familiar with agile methodologies, join them. Right? Okay, a lot of bank has all kind of like, they call it design thinking courses. Okay, if you are free, go and read what is design thinking courses. They have customer journey courses. They will teach you how to trace the customer journey from beginning to the end. So you look through this customer from the point where they enter into this company, where are the pain points? Where are the pain points? And then from there, you will think like a consultant. Like the consultant, how do I get rid of these pain points? And normally you can get it by looking at what other fintech company is doing. So you find that fintech company take away transaction fees for foreign remittance. Then you will ask yourself, hey, how come we are charging fees? So you capture all this idea, bring it back to the management and start your project. I think you'll be promoted in no time. Okay, yeah.
When we're talking about the technological disruption, we usually talk about the private sector, right? But how about the public sector?
Oh.
Especially the government, because as we see, many of government services are really slow to adapt. Like for example, in Indonesia, there are a lot of government services that still do it manually. Right. So what do you think that?
Yes. No, I think private sector. Inherently, private sector are supposed to be more efficient than public sector, right? Most of the time, private sector is the one that is efficient. Then public sector a bit less. So in the case of banks are traditionally seen as very efficient. Okay, banks, because they are supposedly very customer-facing, they are very efficient to start with. So you notice even a bank is being disrupted. Even with their so-called efficiency, they are already disrupted. What's more in the case of a public sector? So public sector, I would say there's a huge scope for disruption. All right? Huge scope for disruption. But the challenge with public sector disruption is that power and politics play a big role. So the top person up there has the desire to do this. In Singapore, we do a lot of this. In fact, Singapore is one country that is a bit overly public, even though it's supposed to be private. In Singapore, we have a lot of government sector re-engineering itself. So the minister will push you to do a lot of redesign activities. But this level of disruption is still different from the re-engineering era. I hope you know what's the difference between re-engineering and today's disruption. In the past, we have been talking about re-engineering. Have you heard of the word re-engineering? Business process re-engineering. Have you heard of this word called BPR? Business process re-engineering. At one stage, everybody is talking about this thing called e-government. Okay, there's that era of e-government. People try to disrupt, make government more efficient. All right? So that was then. But today, there is even greater scope to do public sector disruption. All right? And the question is, what do you do? Okay? When you talk about disruption, it is easy to do if you are just focusing on BPR. Okay, like what we said, if you want to help them to reduce costs, easy. If you want to help them to create a new citizen experience, new customer experience, okay, new, it's easy. The hardest part is to disintermediate. This is the hardest part. Disintermediate the bank. Can you ask question in the sense that, are there certain steps that you can do without going through the government? Okay? You want to access your electronic medical record, for example, if let's say you have. You don't want to go through government agency. You want to go through yourself. This is where a lot of what we call the blockchain technology is here. Okay, so someone talk about blockchain technology. Okay, blockchain technology will be really useful if you are trying to disintermediate the government. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. But would it be rational if we make it into an e-government, as we're a very high-risk country. I think that we're a very high-risk country where terrorist attacks come from every single place, like whether it be physically or through cybercrime. And an example was when the Ministry of Finance was hacked by I don't know who. They hacked the government application, which caused a huge spread of panic, because it's the government they're hacking into. So would it be rational if they made it into an e-government? Would it be beneficial if we made it into an e-government?
Okay, I mean, there are a lot of so-called benefit for things to become e-government, e-something. But what I'm saying is that a lot of time it's easy to digitize it when I'm just delivering services. So if I want to make it, instead of you coming to the government agency to apply for some housing permit, you can just do it online. Okay, so online services, digital services is already happening everywhere. I think Indonesia is quite advanced, I would say. I always read this thing about you can give your complaint anywhere, right? In Jakarta, at least, I don't know whether here also same thing. It's quite amazing. Singapore government dare not do it because there are too many. Because Singaporeans like to complain. If they complain all the time, it's like the government agency cannot handle. But I don't know about. But I don't know how effective is it though. So it's like what I hear about the government here is Jokowi is quite good in the sense that he actually give the voices to the masses, so that if you see anything inefficient on the ground, you are disintermediating instead of going through the agency. Okay, normally you will complain to the agency then go back to the government, higher authority. But this one, disintermediate the agency. So they give to a central bodies, and then people will then start to act. Of course, they will send it back to the agency still lah. All right. So it is a useful application, but I don't exactly know how effective. Do you feel that it's effective? Or you just send, and then nobody bother? It's that kind, right? So that's the danger. Because if you have that kind of danger, if you create that kind of system, the worst thing is people lose trust. Okay, people lose trust, then it becomes worse. Yeah, so I think that's the one reason that Singapore dare not introduce. Because I think if you complain but cannot do anything about it, you'll be dangerous. So what I'm saying is that the government area is actually a big area for disruption, but not so easy. Because government area, you need to get minister support. And a lot of countries, this notion of, a lot of the improvement here is about enhancing transparency. Okay, so if I send in an application, I know if you haven't come out for 60 days, everybody know. Okay, but a lot of people don't want transparency, especially government sector lah. Yeah, so unless you can set that mindset change, that's why I think in digital transformation, people focus on the word. The word digital transformation. Everybody focus on the word digital, but not enough has been focused on the word transformation. Right? Digital is easy, but transformation is hard. Change. You are talking at the end of the day, it is about change. But changing people very difficult. Changing society even harder. Right? Yeah. You see?
So my name is Latifa. So as we talk about the disruption, I want to ask, should the government, what the government should do to overcome the unhappiness to the traditional sector, and should the government create a policy to regulate the technology disruption?
Okay, so what do the rest think? So you're asking, should the government create some policy to encourage, to help, to address some of the pains of the people? Because looking at the pain is not difficult, right? I think all of us can see the pains, right? It's like I don't know about you in here, in Singapore, for example, even the polyclinic, you go to the polyclinic, I mean, there's still a lot of inefficiencies. You talk about booking appointment itself, it's already a big pain. Right? But a lot of time you look at booking appointment, why can't it be done online? Yeah, you just block the time and then just make sure, and then people don't come, punish them. Give them a fine of 50,000, whatever, you just give them some fine. I mean, a lot of this kind of suggestion are, I would say, common sense. If you think hard enough about a problem, you will find some solution to it. It's just that nobody wants to do it. All right, but I think the difficult thing about government in solving the pains of the customer. Okay, so in this case, pain is, I guess you're referring to citizens' pain, people's pain. All right, it's there all over the place. But the government, most of the government that I know, they don't want to do it themselves. They shouldn't. All right, they are hoping that they will get the private partners to do it. So they will try to get the private company to do it. So same thing. I guess Jokowi probably has spoken to Nadim, say, can GoJack, can you all do something? And then can GoJack, can you go and address the issue? So one big part of government policy is promoting this. Promoting entrepreneurship, promoting startup, promoting a favorable policy for startup to grow themselves. Okay, which I think is happening. In Indonesia case, I think it is quite open. That the private sector are taking the lead. The private sector, GoJack, Grab, Mapan, this kind of company are taking the lead in creating solution. All right, to solve the pain. Okay, but the government also have problem with the what? The incumbents. Because you think BRI, these people will let you do this? BRI, I guess somewhat is connected to government, right? Is it? I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of big players here where you cannot simply play with. You cannot simply say that, oh, I want to be favorable to a company like GoPay. Because these people will complain. These people will complain. And these people, in fact, these people are the one that is holding back all this policy, not the government. Because in the moment they do something here, be a bit more open, this company will complain already. In fact, this is the problem in China right now. Because China, as I said, Alipay has become so successful, and Financial has become so successful. The ICBC, the Bank of China, Construction Bank of China, everybody complain. So they lobby. They go to the government, and then the government tells them, sorry, you want to involve yourself in financial product, you can only do this much. So this thing about Yue Bao, I told you Yue Bao, it looks good as a product, right? Okay? But it seems like everybody has a daily limit. You can only transfer $2,000 renminbi every day. So they make the process difficult for you. But it's regulation, because they also want to protect their big bank. So this is the difficult part. The reality is that ideally government would like to do this, but government's hand are also tied with this. So for them to give a policy to do this is hard. But I would say government should not go direct down. Government should not try to do the thing yourself, because most of the government I know don't have the abilities. If they do it worse, I think if you let the government, you know, the IT department in the government is even worse. So they are really, really legacy kind. Stop. So let the startup do it, but give a favorable policy where you can, and then try to balance the need between the incumbent and the thing. I think that's all the government can do. Yeah? Yeah? Question? So traditionally, we see a lot of the banks being, being very strong in certain things. So this is where the bank themselves have to ask yourself, what exactly is my value add? What is it that I do that make me valuable to my customer? So the bank will always tell you, because I know your business better, all right? Because I have the ability to do complex structuring of your product to suit your specific needs. Because I have a strong base, I'm very stable. And Financial can fail tomorrow, but I cannot. Okay, so that's what they excuse. They always say that, oh, I have risk management capabilities. All right? So if you look at this chart, you think again. All right? This chart basically tells you what they call a fraud loss rate. Okay, fraud loss rate, that means how many fraud cases in the number of transactions that you have. All right, if you look at a traditional bank, a leading traditional US payment company, Visa and MasterCard, okay, their fraud rate is 1/100. Leading US payment company like PayPal is this, and Alipay is this. So Alipay's fraud loss rate is 1 out of 100,000 transactions. All right, so sometimes when we think that, oh, as a bank, I actually have the ability to manage risk better than the rest. Bullshit. Yeah. So you don't, that's because in the past you are using old technology. Whereas now, they are using new technology to do fraudless. The reason why they are able to do this is because it is entirely analytics. It's entirely analytics. And this is the area of expertise that banks don't have. Okay, banks, you know how backward banks' risk management team is. You'll be surprised. Some of you who say yes? Yeah, I mean, you should see some of them. It's quite scary. They still go through manually. You know, you'll be surprised. You know, you talk about anti-terrorist funding. You have to go through a blacklist of names. Some of them are still going through this kind of checking manually. How to survive? And then today, you talk about a lot of traders on the phone setting rate, interest rate. I know it because my wife worked in the risk management area. so in the banks. So when you took the traders' conversation, the auditor has to listen through the traders' conversation. So in case the trader collude with another traders, you know, traders, when they want to sell some fund to another company, I will use code word. You know, some of them very clever. So you use code word. So if I say the word bird or whatever, it basically means that I want to buy. If I want to do sell, I don't say sell, I will say some other word. So the traders are very clever. So as auditors, you need to be sensitive to such word. So the technology they use is still listening with their ears. You can imagine how terrible is that. All right, so the thing is that with voice recognition technology today, a lot of this traders' room so-called risk management is done through voice analytics. So voice analytics will be able to pick up all this kind of terminology. You say, how many times is this word mentioned? How many times is it? Whenever this word is mentioned, you always talk about this word. Is the decision is always a sell. Whenever you have this word, you always have. So this is the state of technology today. That you can manage risk using a different set of technique. You cannot use the old method to manage risk in the digital era. Right? So we sort of talked about risk management earlier. So same thing for auditors. For those of you who want to join the audit profession, please don't audit a firm using vouching and using, the financial statement analysis. You need to go into their ERP system, run analytics on their ERP system. That's how you audit a place. You cannot audit based on them generating the end of the year trial balance. This is typically what happens in a lot of audit firms. They will take from the firm year-end trial balance. Then as auditor, you will look at the balance and then you say, oh, reasonable or not. Then out of this $100 million transaction, you choose 5 transactions to verify. Impossible. So my point is that you need to re-look at your tools. You need to re-look at the way we do audit today. We need to re-look at the way we do risk management. In fact, in today, again, I'm talking about DBS Bank's audit. The notion of sampling audit is gone. Nobody do sampling audit anymore. It is 100% population audit. So in the past, we always say that let's choose 5% as a sample. If this 5% sample is okay, I project the rest of 95% is okay. Right? So that's a sampling audit approach. But now with ERP data, everything is inside. You want to check some funny ratio, you can run it through the whole transaction in the ERP database. Right? So remember, so don't use the old method to check new transaction in the digital era. Right? Otherwise, you have this situation where, right? So that's why Alipay require a new competency that traditional enterprises don't have. Okay? So this is what you have. Okay, so again, reinvent yourself. Okay, DBS Bank again. Okay, I think DBS also have DigiBank in Indonesia. Have you all heard before? You have, huh? How was it? Have any of you their customer? Okay, yeah. Anyone? Yes. How is it? How's the experience using it?
I think it's really good because the standard quality.
It's really good. Is what?
It's really good. It's really good. Since, for the transfer, they have a really high limitations. Then they also have like so many options and then it's so mobile.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. So take advantage of their promotion. It won't be long. Yeah, because now they want you to adopt their DigiBank. All right. Okay, so DigiBank is a banking concept without branches. So you notice they do not have a single branch in Indonesia. All right, so their bank is entirely on the mobile phone. All right, so you can do all kind of activities on the mobile phone itself. So that's what they see themselves. Okay, I think I spoke to them recently, and one of the things that strikes me a lot is that they want to be a Gandalf. All right, so they want to be a Gandalf. What does Gandalf stand for? I guess you can guess. G is Google, A is Amazon, Netflix, Apple, LinkedIn, Facebook. So they want to be the D in the Gandalf statement. So you know what it means? Yeah. So what does it mean? Yeah. So they want to be a tech giant. So you notice the benchmark that DBS Bank has is no longer with the bank. They don't want to benchmark themselves to Citibank. They don't want to benchmark themselves to UBS or any investment bank. They want to benchmark themselves to a Google. They want to benchmark themselves to a Netflix. So you notice this is the kind of thing that is happening in banks. They have to become a technology bank. All right. But I personally don't, I think it's a bit too much. Right? Personally. Yeah, but I think I did ask him why do they want to do this? Because it creates a lot of inconsistency inside the banks. Because I talked to the people there said, oh, if I'm a tech company, does it mean that I can come to office in jeans? Because I'm a tech company. Because if you want to be truly Google, you go to Google, the people can bring their dogs to the company, they can do whatever they want. All right? But as a bank, you need to maintain your professional image, right? So there's a lot of inconsistency that's happening. But to them, they call it a cultural pivot. Okay, this is where organization culture works. They say the work is not about them really becoming a tech bank. The issue is about them mobilizing people with this new vision. So they want people to get it immediately. When people talk about Gandalf, then everybody in the company knows that they are supposed to be tech-driven. So that's what they mean by digital to the core. And they also tell everybody they want to be the largest startup company. So they call themselves a 22,000 person startup, which is impossible. All right, which is impossible to have a 22,000 person startup. Okay, but this is just aspiration. Aspiration. As a business consultant, you can do all this. You can tell people, oh, this is the vision I want the company to move towards. And if people buy the vision, people will follow. All right? Okay, but this is their story. But internally, they have a lot more challenges than that. So if you speak to people in DBS Bank, they will complain a lot. They will say, oh, I work too hard. But people in tech company, tech startup, have you worked in a tech startup before? Haven't. Think again, because they work even harder. People in tech startup don't play, don't joke. They work very hard. I've seen some of them stay back in the weekend, they will do it overnight, they basically sleep in the office. So tech startup is a good learning exposure, give you good learning exposure, but it's a hard life. All right, but at least you are passionate about what you do. Okay, but a lot of time when people join the big bank or big audit firm, they say, oh, whatever I do not so meaningless, quite meaningless. You know, so at least you are passionate about what you do. Okay, so let me conclude. Okay, let me conclude. I have 3 more slides to go. So what do we do? All right, in today's world, let's come back to all this thing about tech disruption. So in some way, the case has also shown you that it's inevitable. The tech disruption will happen this 2-3 years. All right, so it will happen no matter what. Whether you care about it or you don't care about it, it will happen. And it will have effect on your life. All right? So, at the personal level, I have already given you the advice. All right? Be more forward-looking, be more intentional in whatever you do. All right? Don't wait for things to happen. It takes too long. Okay, so at the personal level. So at the company level, right? I guess that's what business school does, right? We are in the business school, we are in the management school. We have to tell company how to think about such issues. So how do you want to engage senior management? If you have to be a business consultant, you go there and talk to business executive in the Fortune 500 company or whatever. So how do you engage them in such a conversation? What should they think about? Okay, so this is the challenge. I guess you have to think about it. Because a lot of time, if you do not think hard enough, your reaction is just panic. Most of people get frightened by this word called digital disruption. And a lot of companies are being frightened by digital disruption. All right, if like you look at some McKinsey report, they will say, oh, by 2025, 40% of banks' margin will be slashed off by fintech company. So they throw out some of this kind of statistic, all right, good or bad, but it frightens people. All right, so a lot of company, their reaction is knee-jerk reaction. They quickly throw in money into buying startup. They will go and do a lot of panic reaction, go and set up a nice innovative workspace. You go to some banks, they will have this nice innovative workspace to encourage innovation. They will create a lot, they will organize a lot of hackathon of all kind, and they will invite people to do all these things. So a lot of effort is being thrown into practice, all right? So, but at the end of the day, what we want to ask ourselves is like, what is the two factors that you need to look at? Okay, so if you look at the new tech ecosystem, you have to ask yourself, what is the emergent challenges for this new tech ecosystem to come up? Okay, you see a new tech ecosystem such as blockchain. How likely is it for blockchain to come up? All right, because a lot of time it's easy to talk about tech disruption, but it is harder to talk about when the disruption is coming. So the question of when is very important. At the end of the day, we know disruption will come. It's either today or 5 years down the road or 50 years down the road. So the more relevant question is when is it coming? All right, so how do you decide? All right, when are there emergent challenges to your new tech ecosystem? Okay, so you ask yourself, is it the problem of the technology, the focal technology itself? If you look at blockchain technology, does blockchain technology itself have problem to start with? Okay, is it executable? Is the dream of blockchain executable? So you look at blockchain, the idea is good, but it has a lot of performance issues. It has a lot of storage demand. All right, you cannot execute it completely until you solve the co-innovation issues. Unless the performance issue is settled, unless the storage issue is settled. And then does it depend on other people adoption chain risk? That it depends on other people adopting it. Government, trading entities. So there are a lot of issues before you can settle it. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I would like to ask your opinion. Since Indonesia is like the most complex country in all of the ASEAN countries, I would like to ask you, what is the in your opinion, what is the basic or most important thing that Indonesia should prepare first in order to prepare for the technological disruption in the future? Like, what's the most important thing that we should do first? Thank you.
Okay, it's a difficult question, I must say. It's the problem is there are so many things to do. So to ask me to choose one of the most difficult one is actually a challenge. All right. So in a sense that if you ask me what is the most difficult problem to solve in Indonesia, all right, I think to me the biggest issue is always about regulation. Regulation has to facilitate it. Regulation and this thing about managing the redistribution of wealth, all right? Because in the sense that when the new company come out, some incumbent will lose out. So I think that part of it, I'm not quite sure whether regulation can help to settle this. Because there will be a lot of issue that will come about that BRI will complain about, GoJack will continue to do, and how do the regulator come in to address all these competing interests? I mean, that's my sense. Technology is not an issue. To me, technology is never an issue. It is an issue right now because there's a shortage of talent, but sooner or later you will feel the shortage. It's always the government, the regulation, those are the issues that I would foresee. Yeah. Okay, so coming back to this is that from the new technology side, you have to look at new technology, how likely is it to come out. From the old technology side, okay, so sometimes we sort of we don't give enough credit to old technologies. So some people say that, oh, old technology, for example, in the banking sector is ATM. Can ATM be reinvented? Can ATM be reinvented? Okay? People are doing that. So people take away the branches, but they put a lot of ATM machine that has even more functionality. So what happened is that, like DBS Bank's case, they close down all their cashier front end with the human cashier, but they put a lot of functionality into the ATM machine. So ATM machine can still reinvent itself. Huh? So video ATM, have you seen those video ATM or video cashier? So a lot of technology is being put into video. So now you can still go to do banking, but it's a video machine, it's an ATM machine, but you have a video here. This is meant for old people who don't like to deal with machine. But you have a nice video there. So video conferencing technology can still be reinvented to support this kind of transaction. So basically it means that you have somebody sitting in the head office somewhere dealing with these people. Tell them, oh, exactly, you first put in this step, you first put in that step. So what I'm saying is old technology, don't give up on old technologies so early. Because old technology can still be useful. All right, so it depends on how much you can leverage on the old tech to reinvent yourself. And then you can also borrow from new tech. So one area is in customer service officer who answer your phone call. Okay, a lot of these are being replaced by chatbot. Right? So that's using new technology to help with the old tech. Okay, so what I'm trying to highlight here is that the situation is not so bad. There are at least 4 possible scenarios. Okay, in the worst scenario, you will see what I call creative disruption. Creative disruption is where the emergent challenge of the new tech is very low. No challenge, they're already here. So there's no problem for new tech to come in. At the same time, the old tech of payment using cash is just cannot be reinvented. How to reinvent cash payment? There's no way to reinvent that. So the ability to reinvent your old technology is low, and then the emergent challenges for new tech is also low. So in those situations, what you will see is what we call creative disruption. The disruption will happen the fastest, all right, which is in the case of Alipay. All right, to me, this is a micro-payment area. In a small micro-payment area, very difficult for banks to fight. You will see a GoPay coming. Very difficult for bank to fight. Even if the bank create a payment app, it's just for the bank. It's not good enough. And bank is going to spend a lot of money going to persuade their merchant to accept this bank, this bank, this bank. So there are a lot of issues. Right? So no point. Give up. Okay? So, and then there's also a situation where the old technology is already becoming irrelevant. Okay? But the emergent challenges is very high. Right? Because of regulation, because of various issues, the regulation is blocking it from coming. Okay? So in those situations, this is what I call the illusion of resilience. So such that it seems like it's working, but actually it's not working. It's just because some regulation is blocking it. Okay? But by the time the regulation catch up, then you will see a sudden disruption. Okay? It will happen then. So it's the illusion of a resilience. Okay, then I also see a situation of what I call robust coexistence. So this is a situation where the ecosystem challenges is already ready. Yeah, the new ecosystem is already quite ready. Okay, but at the same time, the old system continue to be relevant. Okay, so some of the old capability of the incumbent are still useful. This is where I would think that enterprise banking is. Because in a lot of enterprise banking where you are serving Siemens, company like Siemens, big MNC, you really need to understand the company's global distribution. You need to know where do they put their cash position, how do I manage their treasury position over 5, 6, 7 countries. So those kind of things is very difficult for a new startup to disrupt. Okay, but yet this technology that the incumbent has is not enough. So in those situations, incumbents are likely to collaborate with startup. Okay, so I'm saying that in those situations, you will see a robust coexistence. Okay, and then in the other case where the old technology continue to be relevant, can be reinvented, Yeah, but at the same time, the challenges for the new tax system is very high. Okay, so this is the situation where the incumbent will have an advantage. So this is what I would see as where the disruption will still happen, but the disruption here is led by the incumbents. Whereas in the case of a creative disruption, the disruption there is led by the startup. Whereas in this side, the disruption is led by the incumbent, okay, which is also a very interesting company. You still do the approach is still quite similar to Ant Financial, for example, the way they built up the digital ecosystem. My example here is actually Ping An. Ping An is an insurance company. So it's an incumbent, it's an old insurance company, very backward, okay, but they have moved forward because in insurance business there are a lot of regulation. So they have this benefit of time to react. So over time, Ping An has grown their own digital ecosystem. Okay, so you want, as I mentioned earlier, you want to do healthcare, you go to Ping An. They have a the site called Good Doctor. You can go and see doctor online, and then you see doctor online. If you can settle your problem, settle. All right, and then if you cannot settle the problem, they will push you to an offline clinic. So they have a connection on the online prescription, and then offline, if you cannot settle your problem, and all the medicine will also be given to you. And everything is settled using their insurance platform. Right? So that's where I would classify them as reinventing themselves, but it's led by the incumbents. Okay? So basically what you will see is a set of technologies, strategies. Okay? So in the case of creative destruction, you really don't want to fight. So in those situations, what do? I still either find a niche for myself or I do passive participation. Passive participation in the sense that I buy a share of the company. All right, so this is what happened in like Uber. Uber give up in their China market to TT, right? But they buy a share of TT. So Uber also gave up Grab in Singapore, but they buy a share of Grab. So this is where you don't want to fight already. You just give it to them. All right, but I still want to participate in your growth. All right? And then in the case of DBS Bank, in retail banking, you notice DBS Bank is putting a lot of effort to reinvent themselves. So this is what I will call aggressive self-cannibalization. They kill themselves. They keep killing themselves, right? To want to become like a startup themselves, all right? But as I said earlier, this is a costly strategy. You have to put in a lot of money, and at the end of the day, you are not even sure whether you will win. Because you still are talking about a DBS-related group of customer segment. You are still not catching the customer from OCBC Bank, BRI Bank, other banks. So you are still talking about a DBS Bank customer segment. So I'm a bit hesitant about this strategy, but you have no choice. So this is the area where you become like competitive necessity kind of thing. If you don't do it, you die. You do it, you die slower, that's all. Right, okay. Then after that, you see this area of strategic collaboration. This is where a lot of banks are trying to do now. They're trying to collaborate, right? But the problem I have with a lot of banks collaborating is that they don't know what is their own strength. It's just like yourself. You want to collaborate with another person in another project group or whatever, you have to know what is your strength. What do you bring to the table? You have to know that, oh, I'm a good project report writer. Or you are good at doing programming code. You are good at selling. So you need to know what is the thing that you bring to the table. All right, so a lot of the collaboration I see out there, they just grab whoever they can get. All right, so you have to be quite clear, this is my enterprise unique asset, competency. I'm good, I'm a Citibank, I'm good for global treasury management. Because Citibank is very good for their global network. All right, you want to do treasury management globally, you go to Citibank. All right? But if I want to do global treasury management, will I go to BRI? Probably not. Because you need to have branches all over the world. So here is where you need to know who you are, what kind of unique capability you have, and then you sort of proceed along. And then finally is the creative transformation, which is like the Ping An case. You need to reinvent yourself to move forward. Okay, but the challenge here is a big challenge about change management, because at the end of the day, because you are incumbent, you have a lot of historical baggage. At the end of the day, you have a lot of people whom are still not willing to move, who are reluctant to move. So you have to change to so-called help to transit them. And in some banks, even like BTPN, they will, if you really want to change, they will invite you to go. Right? BTPN is very kind because they give them a package, give them a thing, and then they send them away. So there are people who come around to this stage and say, if you're not willing or you don't have capability, please go. Don't block the way. Right? So it's that kind of thing that you have to handle. Right? So this is just a summary of all the different strategy that you can pursue. So what I want to highlight is that digital disruption is not necessarily just one scenario. You can have multiple disruption scenario, and depending on which scenario that you are subject to in your industry, then your strategy has to correspond to that scenario. Okay? Okay, so thank you very much for your attention.